did I heard a,
Trustee Millerick.
Trustee Miller would like to pull which item?
Item F, sir,
All right.
the field trip for the San Marin High School Robotics Club.
Okay. Trustee Aguila, you have,
I would like to pull D, E, and J.
are there any other items on the consent agenda that trustees would like to pull? So could I get a motion to accept the consent agenda without items D, E, F, and J?
So moved.
I'll second.
Seconded by trustee Scott, first by trustee Milmer. All those in favor? Thank you very much. That passes 7-0. Okay, so before we move on to our next agenda item regarding the consent agenda, item D is first up. Would the board like to take item D on right now, or we can discuss it at the end of the meeting? I suggest that we discuss it now. Okay, so we have a basic agreement. Trustee Milrick, you pulled item D.
Trustee, you have pulled item D.
Oh, I apologize. Trustee Aguila, item D.
Yes, I just wanted to thank the Peter House Foundation for the donation.
All right, so can I get a motion to accept item D?
So moved.
So we'll have a motion to accept item D from trustee Aguila, seconded by trustee Cooper. All those in favor? Approved, 7-0. Thank you very much. Trustee Aguila, item E. You pulled it?
Yes, again, I just wanted to also thank for the acceptance of the dedication to Special Education Grant Awards commitment to the Novato Unified School District. So I wanted to say a big thank you for that.
So we have got a special recognition. Excellent. So
Yeah.
is that a motion then now to accept item D? I'm sorry, E. Thank you.
So moved.
Okay, so we have a first from trustee Aguila, seconded by trustee Milrick. And item E, accepted on the consent agenda. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you very much. 7-0. F.
Item F is the robotics club up at San Marin, and they have a second club in use that's organized around Sinaloa. The San Marin club got their challenge this week, which is a defend a castle challenge. I sent the YouTube link to Jim if he would put it in our Friday memo so we could all view the challenge. And they've got, I think, 2 months to get this together, so they'll be working every night up at San Marin, making sure the robot, they get a kit of parts and a definition of the goal the robot has to do, which is, I think, throw a burning cauldron of oil on some people or something. I forget exactly the details. But then they build this robot, and they go to Sacramento, and they compete in the challenge. And so it's underway at San Marin, and it's one of the programs that contributes to our strong STEM presence at the San Marin campus. So with that, I'd like to approve the field trip for them to go and defend our honor at Sacramento.
Sounds like we need to let him go. All right, great, excellent. So that's a motion to approve, and the second from trustee Mack. All those in favor? Thank you, trustee Milrick, for your enthusiasm. That passes 7-0. Okay, item J, trustee Aguila.
Yeah, I just wanted to pull that. That's regarding Hamilton in the field. So again, I just wanted to pull that and vote against that myself, just because, again, I believe in the project, but I just don't. I don't believe that the current regulations meet the contemporary science for the public's health. So.
Okay, so with that, so I have a motion, a first by trustee Milrick to move item J. Can I get a second?
To approve it?
The second to approve it as originally part of the consent agenda. So I have a second by trustee Mack. So all those in favor of approving item J, that is 6-4. Those opposed, 1. All right, thank you, board. So that should conclude our business for the consent agenda today. So let's move on to, we already did that. to our student presentation. So we have San Jose Middle School here today, and Justin Maury, the principal, is preparing to bring people out. And I think we'll wait a minute. If they need more time, we can move on to announcements, but he said 1 minute. So
And we'll wait 1 minute.
we'll wait 1 minute.
He's rallying the troops.
Here comes, it's a marching band.
It's the marching principal.
Are you,
Yeah, thank you.
are you ready, or did you want some more?
Yes, I'm ready, and they're coming in.
Okay, great.
So, good evening, everybody. Thank you for having us. So, right in front of me, we have the wonderful and talented Miss Benedetta Del Bazio. She's our music teacher. And coming in is our newly started this year ukulele class. Miss Del Bazio came to me last year and said, I want to start a ukulele class. And I said, well, if you can find the students, you can have the class. And they're still coming in.
Wow, you got a lot of students. Woo! Nice.
So obviously we have the class, and ukulele's brought something new to the school this year. It's been fantastic. You hear a ukulele playing, and you kind of expect to walk out a door and find a beach and a hammock. And it's really disappointing when you don't. But it's been awesome, and we have a few pieces for you tonight.
We have 4 songs for you tonight. We're going to start out with Blue Suede Shoes. Then we're going to sing Jason Mraz's song called On Yours. And then we have a soloist. Where's Gwen? Gwen. She's going to start out with Can't Help Falling in Love, an Elvis song. And we're going to finish with One Day. Could I hear the bass, please? Turn it down. All right. One, two, 1, 2, 3. Step on enjoy music and become involved in performing arts. Thank you.
Well, that was a treat. Thank you, students. Thank you, teachers, parents, everyone. That was a lot of fun. And I had to
Keep
hold myself
playing, you
back.
guys.
You know, I was ready to light my phone flashlight and give hoots and so. Seems there's a lot more to that ukulele. There's a lot of chorus in there too, so that's an excellent program. So thank you very much. Okay, back to the more serious stuff here. Well, it's not so bad. All right, this, next on our agenda are the announcements by the board, superintendent, and our student board members. So if our student board members are ready, how about we get started? Jane?
So last week, sophomores and juniors who took the PSAT in October we got our PSAT scores back. Currently, as far as I know, juniors are the only class so far to have chosen or be choosing our courses for next year. And we have counselor meetings next week, I think. Our annual Green and Gold fundraising dinner is January 23rd, Saturday, January 23rd. And for sports, basketball is doing pretty well right now. Boys varsity is 12-4, and girls varsity is 13-3.
Last Friday, our sophomores had their very first movie night, and on the 14th and 15th, we're having our spring club fair, and winter formal dance tickets have just gone on sale.
Trustee Milrick, just before we get started with the board, I just wanted to let everybody know that Marley, it's her birthday, and so her family had plans, and so she's not here tonight. Okay, so Trustee Milrick.
Two things. First, and Trustee Scott will give us more, but the Compass program did a presentation out at San Marin, which we've been working with at this table now for multiple years, trying to get our college, our high schools connected to the community college, and San Marin was now in the second semester, part of this first year's effort, so that she'll have the details because she was able to attend, and I had another commitment, I couldn't make it. And the second thing is the governor came out with his budget, and one of the key issues in the budget that's, if you read through it, the governor is looking to see that for every 2 freshmen that enroll in the University of California system, those 10 campuses, at least 1 transfer student enroll. So that means the community colleges are going to have a significant leg up in terms of being able to move kids into the University of California system and that world-class university it represents. So there's lots of other details. I'm sure Karen will fill us in as time goes by, but that specific focus of community college career tech education and strengthening our local institutions to me was noteworthy for this evening. And I'm going to have to be leaving early this evening. I apologize to the board. I will just step out when the time comes.
Trustee Aguila.
On January 7th, I was asked to interpret for the Heart of Marin celebration that took place at the Civic Center. Was very pleased to be able to be part of that, and there were youth panelists to present the Youth Volunteer of the Year Awards funded by the Bank of Marin, and each of the youth presenters have been very active and engaged, volunteers in Marin, and themselves are worthy of the award. And I was very pleased to hear that it was Marlon Alvarez, a sophomore at Novato High School and Marin School of the Arts, and Sarah Schoenbaum, 8th grade, San Jose Middle School. So that was very pleasing to see. Some people, Leslie was there too. The 2015 Heart of Marin Award for corporate community service went to Bradley Electrics, and as we know, thanks to the collaboration with WBE and Boys and Girls Clubs of Marin and Petaluma were able to open a bunch of needed school programs at Novato. And they were also there, and they got the award. So I just wanted to share that.
Trustee Mack.
Yeah, it's been a while since our last meeting, so I had just a few things, but I'll try to go through them quick. First off, on the 16th, Ms. Dalbazio hosted the San Jose Winterfest, went to that. And at this point, I'm starting to wonder who is not involved in music at San Jose, because it's huge, and you just saw it tonight. So this wasn't even there. Anyway, what was kind of neat is that every single song, and there was about 12 of them, was introduced by another language. We had 12 different languages going that night, including Lithuanian. Attended Brown Act training so that I can actually be a good board member. So. And then also, when we had our night off on the 22nd, it was a rare event when I could actually go to a city council meeting, because they tend to be on the same nights as us as they are tonight. And an interesting topic came up wherein the city was trying to figure out what to do with its, payment due to the state for $5.2 million. One of the things that's interesting about that is when they make that payment, some of that money might come back to us. So we might want to look at that at some point, because that's actually money that goes to the county and then goes back out to services. So while the city's not happy about having to pay $5.2 million to the state, it actually goes to the county, and there might be a silver lining. Some of it might come back to this community. Last but not least, I attended the DLAC meeting on January 5th, and it was my first DLAC. I've been to a number of ELACs, and lots of great questions, but one thing I really noticed is that there seems to be a bit of frustration amongst the ELAC community about working closer with PTA. That they seem to think that they're not supposed to work with PTA, but the PTA folks would love to have them. So I think we might want to start brokering that a little bit, getting a little bit more involvement with those two groups. I know there's legal ramifications. They have to meet on their own to a certain degree, but at the same time, trying to get those two groups to work together as one, I think would be helpful for everybody in the community, as well as just closing that gap. And that's it.
All right, thank you. Trustee Scott.
Well, last night, as Trustee Millwork said, I had the honor and pleasure of attending the Compass rollout at Samarin High. We had 20 freshman students enroll. They are actually now officially college students. They got their picture taken, they got an ID, they signed their contracts with College of Marin. I have to really congratulate College of Marin and all of our staff and this board for actually making this happen. This is an amazing, amazing gift for our students. The fact that they get to work towards college and earning college credits before they actually even attend a four-year institution, saving mom and dad some serious, serious money. As a parent who has two children in college, it's very expensive. But I just have to say that I really enjoyed it last night. Dr. Kuhn, several of their trustees were there. Our superintendent was there. The parents were just thrilled beyond belief, and I'm just so excited that we're working on this. This is piloting at San Marin. Hopefully we will, I'm sure we're going to be rolling this out at Novato High, and my goal is that this rolls out countywide. I just think this is such a win-win to have a college right in our backyard, that we're actually partnering with them and sharing resources to get this done is just going to be just a benefit for all of our children. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Cooper.
I was able to, or I did attend the Golden Bell committee meeting this past week. Just a reminder to every trustee here that part of the Golden Bell is to nominate a trustee of the year countywide. So if you have any nominations, you can bring those forward.
Okay, great. Got a couple things. The JLAC, the Joint Legislative Action Committee, is going to Sacramento on the 22nd, and it's not too late to get a ticket on the bus for those trustees who want to go on the bus. Of course, you can always drive yourself up to Sacramento, but I hope we see everybody there. Look, I saw the agenda. It looks like it's going to be very informative, and the governor's budget is proposals are enormous, and do some of our attention. The other thing I wanted to let you guys know is that I attended the P3 Quality Control Dinner last night which is the collaboration throughout the county between the Marin Community Foundation and MCOE and the participating schools like we have here at Novato Elementary, preschool through third grade, coordination and alignment. And I gotta tell you, that is a hard working group. We sat through a couple hours of presentation, and then they made us eat in 30 minutes and then get back to more presentations. And I'm really proud of our schools that are participating. Lou Sutton presented and did a little video, and it seems like things are clicking a little bit. And like all things, it's difficult. We have a systemic issues culturally that we need to address, and they did a little poll numbering, and the two items that they struggle with the most are alignment, which is basically getting the first grade teachers to be teaching in alignment with the third grade and hopefully all the way up through K-12. So that's a struggle still, and that again is a systemic cultural issue. And the other is family engagement, which again is a cultural type of issue where you're just trying to get families to spend time and engage with their public schools is an issue for all of us. So I bring it up because we should always be trying to get families and the rest of the community to engage with us here at the public school system. So that's what I did, Superintendent.
Thank you, President Nell. So as most everybody knows, the governor introduced his budget earlier last week, and so that's interesting to find out what's in store for education, and the news is generally good. Karen and I think Nancy are actually going to go to a budget workshop on Thursday to try to get more of the details and ramifications for Novato Unified, because I don't know about you, but for me, when I see big numbers like education, funding went up 76.5 billion or whatever it was, it's always, okay, what does that mean for Novato? So just to give a very brief budget overview, I'd like to ask Karen to kind of just give a brief synopsis of what the initial look at the budget looks like.
Good evening, and I just want to say it's good news that thank you to all you taxpayers out there paying your taxes or will be soon. That is what funds general fund and then funds the schools. So that it is good news that revenues are up. So, the budget's up. So just a couple things. Prop 98 is what we're funded on. That has increased, and we expect it to continue that. And what that means for us is Prop 98 is up, so the local control funding formula will be, when it was first introduced, there was a target, which was in 2021 that we were to reach. We're way ahead of what that scheduled target was. And so with this budget, we should be close to 95% of that. And so what it's saying is that's an overall increase of about 5.4% in that funding. That doesn't mean every school will get 5.4. As Jim said, that we'll be going to some meetings, we'll be drilling down to the number, but it will be an increase. And with that, I just want to remind people that this funding model is restoring dollars that we lost during the recession also. But out of that also is a couple initiatives. One is looking at the initiative, the biggest one really, two new initiatives. One is the Early Education Block Grant. And so what the governor is proposing is to bring several different types of funding from state preschool to TK, putting some additional dollars in there to look at funding for our most neediest preschoolers or 4-year-old, and following the LCFF funding model where those kids that come from families that are either English learners or poverty or foster youth will get additional dollars. There's no details around this yet. In fact, there's a task force being set up to examine this. But it really is addressing the preschool and how we may allocate dollars to help that. Also, there is another initiative around the career technology education, and there's a grant that out there that it's a competitive grant our district has before and will again apply for that. So we'll see what dollars that brings to us. And then the last part of it has to do with a state bond. The governor believes in local control funding, therefore, he's not been supportive of a statewide bond to help facilities. And so again, his budget was silent on that. So we'll see how that plays out. There is an initiative. There's some talk that it may be moved back to the June ballot, but we'll see what happens regarding this. The significant thing was, once again, the governor did not, on a statewide basis, address our need for improved facilities statewide. So, and we'll give back details after we attend and drill down into it. All right?
Right, so thank you. I think that should conclude our announcements from the board, superintendent, student board members. So next is our non-agenda public comment. And I did get one card from a Lauren that the agenda item isn't clear. Yes.
It's regarding special ed.
Okay, so that's 13B on the agenda. Okay, thanks. I just wanted to make sure I'll get you then when we bring it up. Okay. All right, so then that concludes our non-agenda public comment. So it's time to do staff reports. And so we're going to ask the board if we can reorder item 8. Oh, we are okay now. Excellent. So we are good to go. We can go ahead with our English language, arts, and math benchmark assessment update. And welcome.
Thank you. Welcome, or thank you for having us. Good evening. I'm Leslie Smith, and this is Catherine Nam and Lori Campbell, and we are the district coaches. And one of our responsibilities is we created the district benchmarks for our district. I wanted to give you a little history before we begin. We have new report cards that we've been, about a couple of years back, we started in the process of changing those. And they were created to match our new Common Core standards. And those folks at the meeting wanted to see common benchmarks, tests that every elementary school did, that we could stay unified. And that was where the seed was planted. We need benchmarks. So this year, we created 2 committees, the math leadership team and an ELA task force team, so 2 different committees. And these were amazing collaborative effort. We have all 8 elementary schools are represented by teachers, and all grade levels are represented from TK K through 5th grade. Both groups have been meeting since August, and both full-time day, getting out of their classrooms, needing subs, and then after schools, we've been meeting a lot. And we'll continue to meet throughout this year and finish out and keep revising these benchmarks as we go along. So piloting them, trying them out, seeing what others are, how we can revise those. These committee members, these teachers did all the hard work. We coaches were just the facilitators. These teachers have been giving up hours and hours of their work from their classrooms to work on these benchmarks. And we invited, I don't know if anybody came or not, because it's a work night, I'm sure they're not. But we wanted, because we want to give them the credit, that all their hard work. So we'll get started.
So our purpose for the benchmarks is threefold. First, we wanted some coherence. We wanted to have a benchmark that everybody in the district is using, and we also wanted it to make sense for the different trimesters. So like, for instance, in the first trimester, obviously, we wouldn't be looking for the full standards, but by the end of the year, we would want students to have mastered the standards. Our second purpose is focus, and our focus is the Common Core standards to make sure that our benchmarks show that we're using the standards and that students are understanding them and mastering them. And we also want, as far as the focus goes, we want teachers to be able to use those benchmarks. It's not just another assessment. It's something that they can use to look at how students are doing and what students need to learn further. And the last purpose is rigor, because we all know with the Common Core standards that there's a lot of rigor involved. So we wanted to make sure that within our benchmarks that we're showing that students deeply understand the concepts that they need to know before they move on to the next grade level. Thank you, because you know I can't do that myself. She's my tech helper. So in creating the ELA benchmarks, all of the grade levels from TK through 5th grade, first of all, they looked at the standards that they had to assess, and then also looked at the report cards, because we wanted it to be helpful for the teachers when they're filling out report cards. And they thought about those things as they were creating the assessments. And for the TK and the kindergarten teachers, their assessments are on ESGI, which is an online program. And so after they decided what they were assessing for each trimester, they were then able to go into ESGI and either find an assessment that's already there that matches their standards, and if there wasn't one, to create their own. And then the data is generated automatically from that for them. For the 1st through 5th grade, it's a little bit different because the language arts standards are so extensive and different at all the grade levels that we first started out, Leslie and I were ambitious and wanted to create a benchmark for every single standard. And then we realized after the first meeting that that was basically impossible to do. So with a little help from our leader, Ruth Ann, she told us it would be okay to narrow it down. And so we focused on 3 basic areas of content. And the first is foundational skills. And, oh, it's still on the slide, never mind. And writing and language, and then literature and informational text.
It's our mouse changes of it to stay right there.
Thank you. Okay. And we're going to give you just a little bit of detail about each of the benchmarks that we created, and I'm going to be talking to you about the foundational skills. And we chose fluency and comprehension as a skill we wanted to focus on because it is a standard on the report card and a standard in general for all grade levels 1st through 5th. And so what we did was we created a fluency passage for every trimester, and along with it, because the standard says fluency with comprehension, we chose 4 common comprehension skills that we felt that all students needed to have to be good readers. And so the first 2 are that students have to be able to identify the main idea and details of the passage. They also have to show understanding for vocabulary and inference. And the reason why we wanted to do this, besides the fact that it's on the report card, is a lot of times students can read fluently, but then afterwards, if you ask them a question, they have no idea what they've read because they've concentrated so hard on getting the words per minute that they need. So we want the focus to be on that reading fluently is not necessarily speed reading. It's reading for comprehension. And then the teachers created a fluency rubric that's being used for the whole district so that, for example, a 3 at Pleasant Valley would be the same as a 3 at Linwood or Hamilton or any other school in the district. And now Leslie is going to discuss the other ELA benchmarks.
Okay, so the second benchmark is writing and language arts. And we have a new program, Lucy Calkins' writing program, and we're just rolling it out. Some people, they piloted it last year. There were a few teachers, but this is the first year that we're getting it going. And there's a lot of reading, so we're just kind of, let's just get into it, do it, you know. So the 3 things that we decided, the 3 benchmarks were narrative, informational, and opinion. And all of the programs start with a narrative first, so we're following Lucy Calkins pretty much to the T. We start with narrative. We started back in August, but we all kind of waited because it was so much reading, so then we started the next month. So narrative being the first, and then we were able to do a post-test, pre and post-test with that, and then it was really, really helpful to for the grading period right after that. So it seems like it's working out. We're trying to get each one during that, so it's ready for your report card. Second trimester being an informational, and then third trimester for opinion. The last two for fourth and fifth could be switched around, but this year we're going to try it out. Just stay with as first trimester, second and third, and then next year we might just adjust it just a little bit. So that's the second one. That's writing and language. And our third benchmark is comprehension. And with the new Common Core, you're going to see a lot more informational text. By the time they leave high school, they need to have a lot more informational text. So by third grade, and this is when we take CASP for the first time for these little guys, we're about 50-50. 50% literature and 50% informational. The questions that come along with these benchmarks are designed with rigor like CASP, and I'm going to show you the next slide, a sample of that for third grade, and it's a doozy. When I first brought it up, I was teaching third grade, and I'm looking at these last year, and I'm going, holy mackerel, we need to up our game because they're hard. The questions that we're creating with these are aligned with the report card. So I'm just going to show you a little sample of it's connecting to the ELA. So on this side over here is the passage, and it keeps going. You can scroll that thing. That's not just what they have to read. It goes on and on and on. It's like, oh my word, I've got to get these third graders going. And then trickle down effect. We've got to get those guys in second grade and first grade up to speed. And the questions that they're asking are a lot deeper. So it's hard to see up there, but it says, click 2 details that best support this conclusion, so there's a lot of inference on for those kids. And then part A goes with part B. They're all integrated. So if we're looking at depth of knowledge, there's levels that go up to level 1, 2, 3, and 4 of questioning for comprehension. A level 1 might say, put this in chronological order of how did the story go. That's easy. That's just a level 1. And that for our kids, that's a hard task as well. But that's only a level 1. Like a level 2 is like relate your book to a current event. So you got to make a connection between something that's happening out in the world. That's only a level 2. Level 3. Select a conflict in your book to investigate further. So it's deep, deep thinking, rigor. So that's what we're working on. And we're trying to match our benchmarks so that we all can, bring it up slightly.
Hi, I'm Catherine Naum, and I've been working with a team of amazing teachers. We have 16 teachers for math, K-5. We have 2 to 3 teachers at every grade level, and every single school is represented. And I can't thank the teachers enough. It's the team and the collaboration that we have done together and that they have brought back to their sites and to their grade level teams has been amazing. So I have to thank them. I know they couldn't be here tonight because they had other commitments, but really, we're doing the talking, but it's our team that did all the work that you're seeing. So we started also back in August, I think even before school started, and got together and we started with the standards and the progressions and the report card, and we looked at how those aligned together. Then for math, we took our math expressions, our newly adopted math program from last year, and looked at that and looked at how the math expressions program correlated to the standards and progressions. And then every single grade level created a year-long curriculum guide for their grade level so that every teacher in the district knows by November, I need to have covered these standards. By January, I need to have gotten through this part of the text, and these standards are covered. And so that every grade level has a guide so they know how to pace themselves through the curriculum by the time CAS comes along. And all of that was, when we were creating the benchmarks, our overall theme was, we don't want this just to be another test where you like click off and you check it and you put it in your file cabinet. Really, the benchmark should be to help guide your instruction. What do our kids know really well, and what are the misconceptions? And that's the overlying theme when we created these benchmarks. With that in mind, we also went back to our district-wide agreements that the math team wrote last year, knowing when we adopted math expressions, there were some gaps and that we would need to fill those. Those district-wide agreements include problem solving, communicating and reasoning, discourse, spiral review. All of those things are also what we took into account when we were creating these benchmarks. So the math benchmark has two parts. There's a MARS task and a short answer task. And the MARS task focuses on problem solving, communicating and reasoning, and the math practices, which a lot of teachers kept asking, how do I assess math practices? And the short answer part of the benchmark addresses the concepts and procedures. And it's not just a bubble test or a fill in the blank. In addition to the short answer, students have to explain their reasoning using words, pictures, and numbers. And the questions that the teachers created were higher level depth of knowledge questions based off of Webb's depth of knowledge. And Leslie touched base on that a little bit. And I wanted to actually go into more depth because I'm going to show you why we're doing this. So for example, the depth of knowledge questions, there are 4 levels. Level 1 is the basic level, recall, memorization. Level 2 gets into comparing and maybe organizing some data. Level 3 goes even deeper, where you have to justify your thinking and maybe there are multiple answers. And level 4, you actually have to take everything you know and you have to extend it and apply it to something else. So when our teachers are creating the short answer sections, they are looking at depth of knowledge level questions 2 and 3. And here's why. So we're looking at the CASP. This is the math CASP blueprint. So basically they tell us what's going to be on the test. And if we look at math, there are 4 sections. There's concepts and procedures, problem solving with modeling is put together, and communicating and reasoning. So when we look at those claims, our benchmark, the 2 parts, the short answer focuses mostly on the concepts and the procedures, and the MARS task is a conceptually based task that addresses the problem solving and the communicating and reasoning that we know that our students need to have. So let's break it down even further. So I'm going to just look at the concepts and procedures, the first claim. And if you look at the highlighted part on the yellow where it says DOK, that's the depth of knowledge. And so those questions, and I've whited it out, but underneath there, they break it down so you know every single standard under there, what the questions will be. Those are depth of knowledge level 1 and 2. And remember, those are the lower level questions, recall, memorization, maybe some comparing. So what I did is I took a 4th grade geometry standard, area and perimeter. And this is a depth of knowledge question that you would see. Find the perimeter of a rectangle that measures 4 units by 8 units. Very straightforward. You need to know how to find the area. This is something that you would see on the STAR test. And this is our benchmark for our short answer part of our benchmark addresses a lot of these concepts and procedures. However, now let's look at the other part, the problem solving and communicating and reasoning. And when I flip to the next side, look at the DOK that I've highlighted. Depth of knowledge for problem solving and communicating. So this is half the test. Half of our test is depth of knowledge level 2 and 3 questions. Those are those really higher level thinking questions. So what I did is I took the same 4th grade geometry standard of area and perimeter, and then now just tweak the question to a depth of knowledge level 2. List the measurements of 3 different rectangles that each has a perimeter of 20 units. So you actually need to know more than just the area of a perimeter. You actually have to do something with it. So then we have depth of knowledge level 3. Same standard, area and perimeter. what's the greatest area you can make with a rectangle that has a perimeter of 24 units? And that's the type of question that you would see on the CASP. And that's what we want to make sure that we are addressing and focusing this year on in our benchmarks and our problem solving. We're doing problems a month. And actually, I've been in some second grade classrooms, and they're actually working on a question very similar to this in second grade, which is really exciting. So what does that mean for us in Novato? So remember I said there were 4 claims, and they kind of broke it into 3 sections. So the next slide will show some data from NUSD. And this is the justification for why we need not only the short answer part of our benchmark, but the MARS that has really the conceptually based task. So if we look at our NUSD data for 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, the blue bar is the concepts and procedures. And we can see that over the grades, we are consistently stronger in concepts and procedures. And when we get to the problem solving and communicating and reasoning, it's not as high. These are the number of students who are above standards. And this is taken from last year's spring data. It's right online. So this is why we need to have our MARS tasks and keep introducing problem solving and higher level thinking with our students. So now that we have our benchmarks, how do we implement them and what are our expectations in the district? So far, all the students in the district have taken the first trimester ELA and math benchmark. So they've administered it and calibrated it. Now, in math, we have a special extra step because when we're using the MARS tasks, it's based on a rubric. And so what we have done already once, and we were going to do again in February, is every single grade level for math has gotten together and looked at the MARS task and the rubric, and as a grade level have scored anchor papers and come together and for cohesion to make sure that we are all scoring the MARS tasks the exact same way. So it is extremely cohesive as far as how we're scoring the rubrics for the MARS tasks. Now, after they've been administered, what we've asked the teachers to do, and they've done at their site levels, is actually look at the data from the first trimester and look at where the students have done really well and what the misconceptions are. So the sites have been at their PLC grade levels looking through the data of the first trimester benchmarks. And then from that, planning re-engagement lessons. If we are missing part of, if the students are having a lot of misconceptions with adding fractions, what re-engagement lessons are we going to offer? So using the benchmarks to guide our instruction. I'm behind on my note cards. And I think that's where we're at. Oh, so we have finished the second trimester benchmarks for math, and they're almost done for ELA, and have been handed out to the teachers, and we are continuing to revise them all the time. So we have been asking teachers for feedback and using those to make changes for next year, so that this is not set in stone. We're seeing what works and how we can revamp it and how we can make it even stronger for next year. And so that's where we are in the process, and we're going to keep on going with that. I'm done, right? I think next steps.
And Catherine actually gave you most of the next steps already, that we're going to finish the benchmarks, and that's okay. You made my job easier. But also for the 1st through 5th grade, we're going to work on trying to figure out a way, a plan for how we can report the data so that teachers can see across the district how other teachers are doing, and, you know, not compare, but to be able to look and say, oh, you know, what are you doing that I'm not doing, or, you know, to get help if they need it, so that it will be meaningful and move our district forward.
So we, again, wanted to thank all the teachers that are involved in this. They were the ones that put all this work in and are continuing to do that. So that's the end of our process. And if you have questions, yes.
I do.
Trustee Scott, do you have a question?
I do.
All right,
Thank
great.
you. Regarding the data, on page 5, I'm just curious, on that graph, what is the standard or what is the proficiency level for third grade, fourth grade, and fifth grade? I mean, I see these 10, I mean, I just don't understand the graph in terms of what's the standard? Is it 30? Is the benchmark 30? Is it 20?
No, that's the number, the percent of, that refers to the percent of students who are above grade level standards. So when the standards come out, you are beginning standards, almost meeting standards, or above standards. So those are the number of students who are above that standards.
And this is all NUSD students?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Anybody else have any comments or questions? Sure.
This is why your role is so important as instructional coaches. So thank you for the work. I know the teachers did so much, but this is your leadership is why we need to continue with instructional coaches. And I mean, this was huge. And to have this consistently across grades is a big deal. So thank you.
Yes.
Trustee Mack.
I'll just second that, but also looking forward to seeing this all tie into Sean's new data system. That's going to be very cool. When we can take all this and look at it across all the district with standard benchmarks, that's what it's all about. Makes us all smarter. Thank you.
Trustee Cooper.
You guys are doing fantastic work. This is really exciting, and to have you come in here, you guys are, I don't know why anyone, if they're in front of you trying to learn from you, it's pretty easy, I would think. How are the teachers across the district? So you guys have a great handle on this and moving it forward. How are the teachers across the district grasping this, and how's that momentum going?
You mean about the coaching or?
Mhm.
Well, I'm finding that this year, my main focus is GLAD because I'm GLAD certified.
Right.
And last year, it was a little bit harder to get people on board, but I've had a lot more people that want to learn about GLAD. I have a GLAD room over at Rancho that has all the strategies in it, and I've had several teachers come over and ask for help with, reminding them of what strategies are. So that's been really great.
Great. Thanks.
I can speak to math. It's been really, really exciting. Last year we were knee deep in the adoption, and then this year, it's our second year using math expressions, and so people now understand what they need, and it's been so exciting to get new business from teachers who I haven't heard from before, and it's slowly getting out there. Change takes time, and it's word of mouth. Someone will say, "Oh, did you know about yada yada?" And then they'll say, "Oh, call so and so," and then it's slowly permeating, which is really exciting to see.
Great. Thank you, guys. Ladies.
Can I ask one more?
Yeah, sure.
Will this information be shared in a parent-teacher conference? Are the teachers incorporating any of the assessments into the conference?
I know that I can speak for math that teachers were really excited about the MARS task, because when you give a MARS task, you can really understand what students know. It shows you what they know and what the misconceptions are. And many, many teachers use these as part of their talking points in their report or in their conferences.
Yeah, conferences, perfect.
And I can say with using the Lucy Calkins, having a writing sample there is pre and post, and the rubric very easy to follow on that rubric, and that was a great teaching point for me for third grade. And so it's getting out there. We've got all these new things going, so we're trying all these new things. It's happening, and it might be slow, but it is talking points. It's great stuff to have.
Perfect.
Physical stuff right in front of them.
Yeah, good.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just a couple.
Oh, sure. Sorry.
I have a question but I just want to echo what everyone's saying. I'm really happy and excited about what you presented here tonight. It's appreciated, and want to validate the work that you guys are doing, and obviously all credit to the teachers who participated as well. On that, the one question I had was about the you mentioned additional instruction. You would look at the research, and then you would go to a toolbox of additional instruction. Once you saw where students were missing, or you called, I can't remember what you called it.
Re-engagement lesson.
Re-engagement lesson. Boy, I'm
Yeah.
going to try that at work tomorrow. We're going to have a re-engagement lesson.
Right.
There it's right there. So but what I was just wondering, what if the answer is a lot of different things? It's not. I mean, it's nice if a trend is like a bell curve, and it's everybody isn't getting this. But do you have a good way of differentiating for the different kinds of students that you're going to be dealing with, or?
So that's where the teachers come in and they look at their class sets. So, and we work with them to say, okay, let's look at your class set or look at your school site and look at what are the trends in your school site that the kids are not, that they need, re-engagement lessons for, they need to be retaught. And then so it could be different at Olive and Hamilton. And then hopefully we can get together as a whole district and say, are there trends over the district that, there are gaps that we need to make sure that we're addressing?
So it sounds like there's going to be over time a solid effort at developing this re-engagement and adding to the toolbox and working on that effort. So that part excites me a lot. I'm a slow learner, so it's good to have that re-engagement sometimes.
And where we get this from is from the Silicon Valley Math Institute that we are members of, and that's where the Mars tasks come from and the problem of the months and the professional development from SVMI, Silicon Valley Math Institute.
So I'm glad you brought up the Silicon Valley comment, because that was actually my next comment was that chart that it was on the NUSD, if you go back to that, it's the three different levels.
Yeah.
And we've been doing a lot of work on the district advisory committee, and a good part of the communication or the research that's been given us, what the outside of the education community, corporate America, the workforce, what community service clubs and things are asking for is that gold bar. There seems to be a common awareness of lack of students being able to communicate and reason and interpret things. So I'm glad that I'd like to see the bars be higher, but I'm glad we're recognizing, we're measuring that, we're making thinking important again. So just wanted to emphasize that. So thank you very much.
It's definitely a goal.
Okay, well, I guess that's it. Thanks a lot, you guys. Appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you soon. So our next agenda item is program transfer, which I believe is special education, and for 2016-17, and Liz Smith, our Director of Special Education, is presenting. This is a staff report. Liz, would you mind, I just wanted to let the board know quickly that I do have some public comment, so keep that in mind. I'll ask you after the presentation how you'd like to handle that.
Well, good evening, and thank you to the board and Superintendent Hogenboom for allowing me to give you an update. For some time, I know many of you have been here a lot longer than I have, but there's been talk about program transfer, meaning bringing students who are served in county-operated programs back to the district. So this is an update on where we are with a proposed program transfer for 16-17. So a little bit of background. NUSD has traditionally served students with mild to moderate disabilities, and MCOE has traditionally served students with moderate to severe disabilities. About 5 years ago, we transferred the preschool students who were in mild, moderate programs back to the district. And just a point for sharing is that more districts across California are taking responsibility for their own students and are beginning to operate moderate to severe programs. Currently, we have about 65 students pre-K through age 22 who are in county classes, and they attend schools throughout Marin County. Right now, 21 of those students, that's about 32% of our 65 students, are in pre-K. They're 3 to 5 years old. And we have 6 pre-K students who will age up to first grade next year for 16-17. So that leaves about 15 students. We're not considering every student. There are some students we will continue to have MCOE provide services for. But of these 13 students, I wanted you to see where it breaks out as them currently attending. 8 are attending school in Marindale, 4 are at Lou Sutton, 1 is at Vallecito. And so we would also include in the numbers of students served by the district for next year any students who are being identified, because we are always in the assessment process for students. And so beginning with 3 to 5-year-olds, we would continue to build the program in subsequent years. So students who are in elementary, middle school, high school, and post-secondary at some point would be considered for district-operated programs. So a long-range goal is to serve the majority of our students in Novato. So what would this look like? 2 classes on the same site, and we're currently considering a couple of sites. Right now, Hamilton seems to be the preferred site. We would have 2 different classes, one that's what's called an autism specialty class for students who are on the autism spectrum, and the other class would be a mod severe class for considered non-categorical. There would be 1 teacher per class, 1 paraeducator, and 1 paraeducator 2. We have 2 different levels of paraeducators, one who is the traditional paraeducator, the other is a paraeducator with significant background training and skills. We would increase the EI program specialist from a 0.6 to a 0.1.0 FTE, and students would receive the same level of services identified in their IEPs on a comprehensive campus. We would continue to provide FAPE. That's that free, appropriate public education. You might say, well, Liz, what exactly is FAPE? That's considered to be that unique combination of location plus services that we offer annually at the IEP. Specific providers are not a part of the FAPE equation. The location may change, but the services would not change. And FAPE is an annual offer, meaning the IEP is the annual contract. On an annual basis, we determine what that FAPE offer is and make an offer for 1 year of services. So continuing with the proposal, we would provide as a part of that FAPE any related services that are currently in the student's IEP. Might be speech and language therapy, might be the embedded occupational therapy, social skills groups, psych services, health and nursing, behavioral support, any other services like deaf and hard of hearing, VI, physical therapy, anything that's currently in the IEP. The services would not go away. They would continue to be provided, but provided in Novato in the district. The administrative program support available in the district, special ed director, early intervention and elementary program specialists, coordinator of behavioral health, board certified behavior analyst. And I made a note that we're the only district in Marin, including Marin County Office of Ed, who actually has a board certified behavioral analyst on staff in-house hired by Novato. And so with our administrative program support, we have experience with the program design, program transfer, mod severe, and autism. We have a fabulous design team. And I wanted to tell you in particular about one person on this design team who is new to the district, and that's Andrew Weir. He is our BA board certified behavioral analyst, and he has already started some program design for this program. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about him because you will understand how we're doing our design, and that is very solid. Came to the district from a non-public agency. He has experience operating non-public schools for both mod severe and students on the spectrum. He has experience with program development, experience facilitating transitions to least restrictive environment, experience teaching learning to learn skills, extensive knowledge in evidence-based practices and strategies. There are many people who talk autism programs and what strategies are being used, but we will be using the ones that are evidence-based and best practices. He is our in-house trainer for ABA, that's Applied Behavioral Analysis, and discrete trial teaching, meaning we don't have to contract outside of the district to provide these services for our programs. And his credentials allow him to collaborate with in-home ABA providers. That's a very unique skill set that we're very pleased to have on our design team. Andrew, would you stand up so folks can see who you are? Okay. Alrighty, so our rationale, why are we doing this? Well, because it's LRE, it's a legal and ethical requirement. district of residence and integration with typical peers when it is appropriate and when we're able to do so, we are able to do so. It's more efficient. Students are currently served by really 2 LEAs, MCOE and NUSD, because we both collaborate together to provide those services. Multiple administrators are involved with each student with their meetings, and this would allow us to have less administrative staff without impacting programs. And one of the huge things that we think is very important is it meets our board priorities. All 4 of them, I'll tell you a little bit how. With equity, the majority of the students we're looking at, 9 of the 13, are bused outside of Novato to receive their FAPE. For students at isolated sites like Marindale, the transfer would mean they can be on a comprehensive campus in Novato with their non-disabled peers, just like their non-disabled peers. So we believe students should not have to leave the district to receive a FAPE. You might say, how does it apply to the board priority of student success? The district will be able to select and train staff. We can account for students' learning by providing specifically designed instruction for their assessed needs. On the comprehensive campuses, there are Head Starts or pre-Ks and kindergartens for inclusion with non-disabled peers, and typical peer models equals greater student success. Next board priority is staff success. We'd be able to recruit and seek diversity, that's one of the board priorities, hire the most qualified candidates, supervise and evaluate our own staff, provide appropriate training and PD consistently across the board, and staff would be NUSD employees. Also, staff would be on sites with other special and general education teachers, so there could be that collaboration, the support and shared resources. They'd have access to the general professional development designed for all teachers. You just heard the coaches talk about that. When teachers are in isolated programs, they miss all of that and sometimes are not aware of and involved and can see from a broader lens what expectations for students are and how those students fit in there. The 4th priority, community involvement and engagement. It's an opportunity for us. We'd like to improve our communication with families when the students are young and the families are beginning this special ed journey. Sometimes we feel like we're on the outside of the process looking in because we haven't had an opportunity to develop those relationships with the families. They don't know us. They don't know what we're capable of providing for the students. We'd like to partner with the parents to establish that personal and long-term relationship as their students matriculate through our system. So why now? We'd like to meet the board priorities and transform services for the students. We want the accountability for serving our own students, and we have a very professional design team that has autism, mod severe, and program transfer experience. We've done this before. We know how to successfully do it. So what is our timeline? We submitted intent to SELPA and MCOE as required 1 year and 1 day before the transfer would occur, so that's by the end of June. We did that June 25th, 2015. We provided assurances to SELPA on October 6, 2015. Assurances mean we can compliantly provide the services. We've started the preliminary program design and development. A final decision needs to go to SELPA and MCOE by March 1st. Then we can begin the hiring process when a decision is made. We can finalize a location, develop our PD calendar and begin training, order furniture, curriculum, materials, equipment, technology, and keep parents involved in the design process. So with all of that in mind, I want you to have an opportunity for questions and sort of looking at what we've talked about over the years. If not now, then when will we do this? If we don't get started, we haven't started. So, thank you.
Okay, so I was thinking that what we would ask now, any clarifying questions on the report, if you had specifics about it, and then we could take public comment, and then the board could take it back and discuss it. and go from there. So does that sound like a good idea? Does anyone have any clarifying questions at this point before we take public comment? Trustee Scott.
Liz, thank you for the presentation. I appreciate that. I'm curious, is this the same autistic program that was highlighted in the IJ back in January of 2013 that was at Linwood? Have they been moved?
No, and that's a very, very good question, and it sort of brings out the distinction between mild, moderate, and moderate to severe. We have gotten some very good acclaim for the autism programs that are currently in the district. We have 3 to 5th grade that's at Linwood, and that's still there, social cognition program. And on the middle school campus, Hamilton, we have that social cognition autism program. So we do have 2 programs currently operating that are mild, moderate. This is different in that it's moderate, severe.
Moderate, severe. Okay,
Correct.
and the teachers that are there now, are they NUSD employees?
In our class at Linwood?
Yes.
Yes. And so there's also a county class at Linwood also.
Okay,
That
and
is
then
a
what about-
moderate to severe class.
And what about the one at Lucetton?
The one at Lou Sutton is county operated, moderate to severe.
And this is the program that you're looking to transfer, correct?
There are students, as I said, throughout Marin County in programs. We have 4 students in that class. We have 8 who are in Marindale and 1 at Vallecito that we're looking to transfer. So some of those students, 2 are aging up to 1st grade, and I think a couple of other students are from other districts. So classes maybe throughout the county, but all of the students in them are not from one district.
Okay, and just a couple more questions, if I may. Considering we're hearing a lot in the news and from our own staff, the hiring and the teacher shortage, and I know that we've just recently lost some paras. I'm really, really concerned with changing and moving this program when I know that we're facing a teaching shortage. I would hate to try and do this and then not have the programs in place, the curriculum in place, and then not also be able to obtain teachers. Are you concerned with that, or is there?
So programs and curriculum will be in place, and I know that Chris has some fabulous plans for recruiting. I don't know if you want to speak to what those plans are.
So hi, Chris Koska, Assistant Superintendent, Human Resources. We will be really, for the first time in some time, going out and actively recruiting at different university events from Chico State, CABE, which is California Association of Bilingual Educators Conference, Sonoma State, a number of different universities. I'll be out speaking at Dominican University, doing some recruiting, working with Toro University. So really having an active footprint out in the community. Liz will be coming with me to the schools that have very active special education programs. So I'm optimistic that we'll be able to find sufficient staff for our teaching needs this year. It'll be a struggle at times, and you never know when and where it's going to be a struggle, but knowing sooner rather than later would certainly be helpful.
Okay. May I just make one final comment?
Yeah, sure.
It's just, my concern around this area is that I know that it's often said that kids are resilient, but I find that special ed kids are the least resilient. That I feel like this small group gets moved around, and I just feel that they're a group that doesn't react well to change. So I just have some real reservations and some concerns around this, and I'll reserve the floor to Maria. I know Maria has some comments as well.
Maria?
I agree with the idea of change is hard. I happened to be at that parent forum that you presented to the parents, and it was very well attended, which told me, first of all, I was surprised we had so many special ed students, and I was very pleased to see a lot of the parents there. So some of the questions that were asked there, I could see the parents' concerns. And on the other hand, I also see NUSD. This is something that we've been telling parents since Jan Derby's time. And I think it's not fair that we've been telling them and we haven't done anything, and this is really hard on the parents, and very hard on the parents, and very hard on the students, if they can I'm sure they can sense that. And so if we're going to do this, I want to make sure that I've just seen the presentation, which, by the way, I didn't get, so I don't know if you all got that PowerPoint. I would love to get that PowerPoint so I can review it again. And so my question is, if we're going to go ahead and do this, I would like it to be sooner than later and not drag this on, because I think that the parents that we have now, they're very engaged and they're very concerned, and I think we need to involve them. You did mention parent involvement in the slide, and I wondering if you have, how are you involving? Are there more? And in other words, I'm wondering, how are you communicating with them? How are they communicating with you? Do they have the freedom, the liberty to share the concerns? I know that in that forum, that was an opportunity, but I've sensed that that's not enough. I sense that we need to have more parent forums, and I think you have some scheduled. Is that
Certainly.
right?
So I appreciate those comments, and I do appreciate the parents being here, because I am extremely sensitive of and respectful of the parents' opinions, and I welcome that open communication at any time. So my door is open, my email is open, my phone is open, and yes, when we've made a decision, we'll schedule more forums, because I would like for them to be involved in the ongoing designs and plans, so we can talk through the areas that are issues of concerns.
Yeah. And I think that it's very important that the parents themselves work really close with you,
Absolutely.
so that they can be part of it and not just watch it be done, because
Right.
it's their babies and
Certainly.
their jewels, and so and they're very sensitive too. So I sense that the class size, just by reading this PowerPoint, it sounds like it would actually be a benefit to have them be here, because safety reasons, they won't be, I'm always looking at the safety reasons, but they won't be traveling in the bus, so they'll be here, and a lot of the residents are here in Novato. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
And I think Terry Sullivan, who is the program manager from MCOE, attended our parent forum, and he did say, looking at the ratios we have in some classes, we'd have a better ratio by bringing them back to the district.
So there'll be more adults with the students. Okay, so that's good. That's very good
Absolutely.
news. And the other thing that I would caution is that and I'm sure you guys are doing this, is to make sure that the IEPs are working, that we're looking at the IEPs and the counselors and the therapists, and
Absolutely.
seeing that I'm in the mental field business, I think it's very important. It's very delicate
Certainly.
that we make sure that we are putting all the needs of the parents and the students and the teachers together, and so we can make this transition happen, because every time there's a transition, it's really hard for everybody. But if we can make it smooth, that'd be wonderful.
Absolutely. And you know what? I wanted to go back to a comment Shelley made. I know it's a perception that we have special ed students bouncing around all over the district and the county. It's a perception and not really the reality. So we are not moving classes every year. Students are not moving every year. And I can tell you more about some classes that have moved or have not, so that you are fully aware of what that looks like. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so now how about we listen to public comment, and then we'll have time to talk about it. So I'm going to go ahead and ask our community members to come forward on this subject. I have Ashley Courtney. Okay. Lauren. No, we'll need you to come up to the podium. That's fine. We need you to be on the microphone so everyone can hear. And then we ask everyone to keep their comments to 3 minutes, and we do have a timer that helps us with the amount of time so far. So welcome, and let us know what you have to say.
Great. So everyone, thank you. My name is Lauren Tabariski. I have a son at Linwood who's in the GATE program, and I'm actually here to advocate for my middle son, Alexander, who is in the special ed program through the county. So first off, I'd actually like to ask the board members if any of you are parents of a moderate to severe disabled child.
So unfortunately, due to the Brown Act and public policy and how these things are supposed to work,
Okay.
we can listen, but we can't really
Sure.
respond.
Okay. Well, the daily challenges that I go through with a child who is moderate to severe with autism is insane. This child needs as much routine in his life as possible. He was actually a student at Novato Unified Early Intervention, and he was recommended to go to the county because the program that he was in at the early intervention through the district wasn't efficient. So when I'm hearing this gentleman here talk about having sufficient staff, it makes me feel uneasy because, like I said, these children need as much of a schedule as possible to be able to just get through the day. It makes our lives as parents so much easier. Now, at the county where he's at, he's got 3 teachers who've been together for 13 years. That's consistency. He's thriving. In fact, you probably remember my child. He was here for the Linwood preschool presentation when Miss Robin asked if he would like to come and join the group. He was the little blonde boy that said, "No," and ran out of the room. So this is what my life is like, okay? This child needs consistency, and I speak for the rest of the parents who are in the county program. We have seen tremendous improvement in their behavior. My son Alexander, he doesn't run off anymore. He holds my hand in the grocery store everywhere we go. He didn't do that when he was a student at Novato Unified Early Intervention. So one other thing I'd like to mention too, I know that there is a lot of inconsistency with management through early intervention. In the time that my son was a student, from May of 2015 to October of 2015, the school psychologist that he met with who did the assessment, she left. His school speech therapist, she left. There have been 2 program directors who have left within that time frame. That's what, May to October? So clearly, there's something happening in management that needs to be resolved in order for things to run smoothly. I don't feel comfortable knowing that you want to roll out a program that could potentially have as many inconsistencies as what's happening in management. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jonna Baez.
Hi. So I wrote a lot down so I would forget. I'm going to try and keep it to 3 minutes. My name's Jana Baker, and I have a 5-year-old son with a diagnosis of moderate autism, and he's in the Marin County Office of Education class at Lou Sutton. It's here in Novato, and I think that some of you might be under the assumption that a lot of us are going to San Rafael and taking our kids to the Marindale campus, but all of us actually are Novato residents, and our kids go to school like right here in Novato in our community. So it's actually pretty convenient. So anyways, I'm not in agreement with the transfer. It really worries me. My son started also at the early intervention program through Novato Unified when he was 3 years old, and he qualified under speech delay, and he didn't meet autism criteria, but at that time, he had about 50 plus words. He was speaking in simple 2-word sentences. He was social, he was engaged. He made eye contact. He basically just had speech delay, but not really autism symptoms. So he started there in November of 2013, and slowly he started regressing. He started losing speech. He started losing eye contact, lots of behaviors, stimming. He you know, I was concerned, and I brought up my concerns, and they were basically, you know, contributed to other factors like, oh, you know, there's a kid in his class that's kind of being aggressive, we're gonna move him to another classroom. I kind of was in denial, and I thought, oh, okay, you know, we have a new dog at home that was aggressive, and we had to, you know, give him back to the Humane Society, so I thought he was being emotional. And so I realized something was really going on, and I felt like my concerns weren't addressed. And then summertime came, and he didn't qualify for summer school because he was found that he didn't have a regression, and I just was shocked. So I went and I got a private assessment. He ended up being diagnosed with moderate autism. So I took that to the school district and, you know, said, you know, he needs other placement. Then we ended up, like, they said that they had to have, reassess him, and that would take time. So they, you know, did their assessments. We had an IEP. They, you know, offered Marin County Office of Education, and I wasn't sure, but, you know, I went and visited the classroom, and I said, this is gonna be great. This is what he needs. So basically, at that point, a year had passed before, you know, his issues were addressed, and he found proper placement. And at that point, he was nonverbal. So, I mean, I get really emotional, but I feel like the classroom that he's in, Liz's class, is like amazing. He now is, okay, I have a couple more minutes, I'm gonna wrap it up. He's talking, he's making eye contact, he's engaged, he's, you know, I mean, playing games with other kids, he's following directions, he has basic preschool skills. I mean, this is in the last year and a half. And I feel like, you know, it's basically the team. They're a dream team. They're amazing. I know the program. I think it's, you know, I think it's great that they want to start a program, but, you know, I'm worried about having the team that's going to be able to implement this program, the training, you know, and also just the chemistry that they have. So it's a special place. I want him to stay. Thanks for listening.
Okay, next is Alicia. Oh, we got two.
Hello, I'm Alicia Incho Ogie. My daughter Elena is 3.5, and she's on the autism spectrum. She is currently enrolled in an MCOE classroom, the same one as these children, at Lou Sutton, which just happens to be around the corner from our house, so it's great. Since starting there in August, she has made just immense progress, and we're really, really happy with the teachers and just how she's been doing overall. So we're not really looking forward to a transition, as you can imagine, and I'm sure many of you got my email. So some of the concerns, one is the teachers. I think Liz said they wouldn't look to be hiring until March. So from March to when school starts in August, that's not that much time to get everything together and to become a well-oiled machine and be able to tackle the school year, especially when, as you know, the other parents have said, we have such a great team on our hands that we do call the Dream Team. They're amazing, and they've been together actually 16 years, so even longer than Lauren said. They work really well together, and they're just really, really qualified. So the teachers, that's a concern. The curriculum, don't know what that's going to be. Don't really have a ton of answers yet. And I know you guys are still working on it. And we all know that consistency and structure and routine, really huge with kids on the autism spectrum. So just want to make sure that that's kept in mind. Another thing is, for me personally, I wouldn't mind driving my daughter to Marindale every day if that's where the quality program is. So just because there's a program that's going to be started here doesn't necessarily mean that, hopefully it doesn't mean that I have to send her there or will be forced to. I mean, I'd like the chance to observe it and see if we like it, see if it'll be well, you know, if she'll do well there. Before choosing this program, I observed about 10 preschools, and none of them really seemed right. And then we found this one, and it's been so great. So the idea that we're going to have to just kind of transition into something that we don't really know a lot about is super scary. Last is these kids on the autism spectrum and special needs kids, they're already behind. Typically, you know, they're typically developing peers socially, emotionally, academically. And we as parents and educators are trying to get them caught up. And my fear is that doing this will only set them back more. Sorry, I'm also pregnant, so I'm a little extra emotional right now. But that's a really big fear of mine, and they really can't afford to be set back anymore. They need as much as they can, we can push them forward. Lastly, sorry, question. I know you guys can't answer, but if this does go through, what are my rights as a parent? What can I do if I don't want to send her to this new program? Can I still send her to Marindale? Can I drive her myself every day? Can I tour the classroom? But there's not really going to be a classroom or students there, so I don't know how that would work. So just kind of the unknown is really a huge factor right now. Just wish we had more information and more, just more information. Sorry. Anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, next is Jean Dennis.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm the husband of Alicia and also father of Elena, who's on the autism spectrum. And I think without repeating all the points my wife just made, the overall point here is we have a program that works. It is not broken. And to go out and attempt to fix something that's not broken for children that have already, they're in a position where they have so many challenges in life, and transition actually leads to further regression sometimes. This is a very risky thing to do a transfer of. And I'm not sure if the risks and the rewards quite balance out here. And I do appreciate the recruiting strategy. I completely understand it. But if the recruiting strategy is to go out to colleges and let's get the most highly qualified, incoming professionals, completely get that. I'm a certified public accountant, and I became a certified public accountant a year after college. Trust me, I was not qualified to go out and do a lot of the things that a partner does or that I'm doing today as a manager. So I do understand that, but without going back through all those facts that my wife just laid out, if it is the will of the board to transition to a district, because it is unfortunate that children would have to travel outside the district, let's make the transition smart. I don't think that children that are currently in a county program should be forced right away to move into a district program. That doesn't make any sense, especially since the economics of the budget is based on a student to teacher ratio. So is it possible that the children that are already in the county programs complete their life cycle that they're in? So through the county programs, you already have to transition to different levels. So the children in the county programs wouldn't have to transition until they actually were ready to go to that next level already in the county, and then maybe we could start reverting over to the district program. And I think if you did have a solution such as that, at least that would allow time for the district program to actually develop itself. So it's not absorbing just all the students at once, and it could go student by student, which would be easy and predictable to budget if you're doing it on a teacher ratio. However, I do want to emphasize again, the program is not broken. It is a fantastic program, and you cannot beat the experience that these teachers have and the development that Elena's had. To transition to something new can be very detrimental. I mean, these are children that change and uncertainty and the lack of repetition can cause digression, to regress, and that is very scary when they already have a world of challenges to meet the opportunities that the other typically developing children have. So thank you, and I please hope you take those thoughts to heart. Thank you.
All right, well, first let me thank all of the speakers and parents for coming tonight. We appreciate your comments and engaging with us, and it really does help, regardless of the outcome. Your comments tonight and hopefully work in the future will make things better for all our kids. So I really appreciate you being here tonight. So with that, then I need to bring it back to the board. And it's a report, so I just wanted to make sure that after hearing the public comments, if the board had any more questions that they wanted to ask a staff or.
I do.
Okay, so Liz, are you? So Trustee Scott's got a couple of questions.
This is just an opportunity maybe before us, and I want to make sure that we may be on target to take advantage of it. Is there an opportunity with staff that we may be hiring with moving this program back to the district? Is there an opportunity for them to maybe keep the teachers from MCOE and have these folks learn from them and have a mentoring piece go on. I mean, I just think that that would be a win-win for all. Is that an option, perhaps?
Certainly, that's
Might be something
definitely
we
an
can
option.
explore?
It's something to explore. We haven't talked about it with MCOE, but absolutely, if they are in the system, we could collaborate with them
Something,
to
just
do
a
that.
win-win to try to,
absolutely.
you know, keep it another year and maybe have a transition piece that is easy and seamless. I mean, these kids, I feel your pain. I have a niece who's special needs, and it's difficult every day, every day. And I know, Liz, you do a wonderful job. You wouldn't be in this if you weren't passionate about this kind of work. And I just want us to move very carefully and methodically and in collaboration with the parents, because this affects their lives so enormously that unless you've been in it, you don't really comprehend it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Mack. Oh.
And this might be, I'm a little green on all this, so I'm learning. So, the gentleman who was up last talked about the idea of overlapping, and I was thinking the exact same thing, but I don't understand the reality of that. Is that something we can do? Is that something where we can effectively offer choice for an intermediate amount of time?
So in thinking about overlapping, so you saw the numbers. At Marindale, we have 8 students. At Lou Sutton, the autism class, we have 4. If we don't have 4 students to begin a class, we don't have a class to begin, so we continue to put them in that class, and that doesn't give us an opportunity to develop a class if there are no students to place in it. So that's the dilemma there. It sounds like a fabulous idea, but to operationalize it may not work. Correct.
Trustee Cooper was next, and then Trustee Aguila.
Thank you for all the parents who came and expressed their thoughts tonight. I certainly want to move in a very thoughtful way with their kids in mind as we do this and others. I would be, it sounds like, other than the overlapping, which was just discussed, I think maybe looking at the staff, some way to engage the existing staff in some way to fold them into the district. I don't know if that's possible or not, but I would be supportive of that. That sounds like it might be a possibility that would work for everybody. You know, we need to be mindful of all of our students.
Certainly.
And I know you very well know that, so.
Yes.
And I'm thankful you're here helping us through this.
Anyway, thank you.
What are other districts in Marin County doing? I mean, they must be up against the same kind of thing, or what are they doing?
Correct. This year, there are 3 districts in addition to Novato who are proposing transfers. So the trend is that more districts are looking at transferring students back to district-operated services. San Rafael did a couple of years ago. They're now operating the majority of their programs. And so more and more districts are considering that for all of the reasons we've talked about.
Okay. Just one more question, if I may. We heard a couple comments about early intervention at Hill.
Certainly.
And that it wasn't that great of an experience. Any comments on that?
Oh, absolutely. It's a great opportunity to speak to that. The early intervention at Hill, again, remember there are 2 categories of students. At early intervention at Hill, mild, moderate. So a mild, moderate program would not be a good fit for a student who is a mod severe student. So most of the students in the programs have started through the referral process. When we get a student, we assess them and then look at them to determine what's called LRE, least restrictive environment. And sometimes a student, when they're very young, the assessment team might think, well, you know what, let's try serving this student in a mild, moderate. For the parents who spoke, that didn't work for them. It doesn't mean that that program was not appropriate for a student with a mild, moderate disability. It wasn't appropriate for their student, and that's why they would have been referred out, and they were referred out because we did not have a mod severe program. And today, we still don't have a mod severe program because we have not developed it, and that's where we'd like to go, so that when we see a student and assess a student who really has more intense needs than can be served in EI, we have a program to serve them.
And it
that we can
sounds
do
like
that.
it's very important for these students to have the continuity and the consistency and not just the
Right.
curriculum, if you want to call
Right.
whatever. It's not just that; it's the staff. It's
Right, the
just what I'm
staff
hearing
and
tonight.
the
It's-
structure, absolutely. And this may be a good time to ask Andrew to come up and talk a little bit about what you're looking at in terms of as we're starting to design, so you can hear something about that structure and curriculum and support. Thank you, Andrew.
Hello, thank you for having me. So, what the plan is for individuals with this is, you're absolutely right. Transition's hard, change is hard. Generalizations of skills is an emphasis, and parent support is absolutely necessary. It's important not just to be doing training at the site level, but parent training so that those skills can be carried over in the other environments too. And you should be planning for generalization on day one. What I've been looking at in developing this program is a classroom structure that's unique to any of the public school programs, and it's more from a non-public school model. It's based on verbal behavior and skill generalization, embedding of a lot of applied behavior analysis programs with it too. The concept of learning to learn behaviors, being able to attend to various keystone behaviors such as communicating one's wants and needs, transitioning, generalizing from one person to another, moving from discrete trial training to direct instruction training to small groups, and then additionally having weekly clinical meetings over those students and their progress and sharing that information. I don't know if the board's too familiar that in 2011 a bill was passed granting ABA services, applied behavior analysis, to all students on the autism spectrum through their private insurance. One of the caveats of that training is that the medical model requires collaboration with the school team so that everyone's on the same page. While the school is working on more academic pre-skills, the in-home ABA team, typically through their private insurance, is working on more functional skills in the home. And that's where those skills need to be able to bridge and generalize for the best outcomes for the students. The more intensive programming initially when the students are younger, the better outcome the data is within that too. And so what the design we're looking at is one that's rooted in ABA, which is unique to Novato. I know I'm the first BCBA ever employed for Marin. Additionally, the level of training that we're looking to do this, and in full disclosure, I'm also doing trainings for the MCOE staff too, on data collection and development of that too, and creating standard data collection sheets and training for staff as needed as well. So we're looking at a very different type of program that will really try and teach those necessary skills, have good, clean data where we can monitor acquisition, and that way we can make the student-centered decisions for what's best for their outcome too.
So, thank you.
You're welcome.
And Maria, you had a follow-up question?
So, right now, we have a BCBA and an ABA staff at MCOE.
Here in Novato.
At MCOE, so the parents are missing that. So, my question is, how will the parents benefit and the children benefit by having NUSD staff? I mean, we already know that. I just can't believe we don't have a BCBA staff right now and an ABA staff. So this is actually good news.
Novato does have, yes.
Yeah, so this is actually good. So that would be one of the benefits that the students and the parents would have by coming here. Okay. And I'm glad that it was clarified that they're not driving down to, because you're right, in my mind, I thought everybody was taking the bus down to Center Phil, to Terra Linda. So that was.
Keep that number 13 in your head. 9 of them are, 4 of them are not. 4 of them are here in Novato.
Okay. But eventually, we're planning on bringing all the students to Novato. And so this is the year where, unfortunately or fortunately, we need to have the strong parents here to be the. So a question was asked, what are the parents' rights? So could they be in the classroom with the teachers the first during the transition, however long they decide to do it, like a year, or is something that parents can do so they can be right there and they can actually, because I know in everyday life, the parents are their teachers, the parents are their nurses, the parents are their psychologists. So how different would it be if they're allowed to be at NUSD in the classroom during the day if they choose to?
Okay, so
Would
I
they do
think
that?
you're asking about the Lou Sutton class. If we were to make the transfer, could we leave students there if parents chose? So I'm not sure, is that what you're asking?
Could the parents be there in the classroom? I mean, what are
Oh,
the,
you mean could the parents visit the students in our newly developed
or
classrooms?
even be part of, if they can,
Correct.
if they choose to, could they do that?
Certainly, parents can visit
Is that-
classrooms.
Okay,
Yes.
well, that's good.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
Okay,
so,
thank you.
so trustees, at this point, this is a staff report. The intention is to bring an action forward on the 26th, so I would encourage everyone to think about this, and if they need more information, to contact the superintendent that way. And at this point, I'd like to move on to the next agenda, but not without offering an opportunity for a brief closing statement right now, or does anyone have any comments? If you don't, we'll move on. Okay, so what I would like to do is thank you very much for presenting tonight and
Certainly.
trying to answer everybody's questions. And I also want to thank the students' parents for coming as well, and the superintendent actually has a question or comment, so I apologize for not recognizing you earlier.
Well, again, I'd like to thank our parents for coming and for being so well-spoken and respectful, and we really appreciate that. And I think, as the board members have mentioned, it's incredibly difficult, and I can't even imagine what that's like. So we will try to do everything we can to make sure that if we do transition that will be as smooth a transition as possible. But again, we really appreciate your being here. And Liz, I guess my question is a timeline question.
Yes.
That maybe I should know the answer to, but I don't. So I saw in your timeline that it said March 1st is when the decision has to be made by.
Right.
But, I think what we talked about, or the question is we make that decision earlier rather than later.
Right.
It gives us time to hire the person, if we're going to make the decision, let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
If there's some middle road of doing something else, I guess that's another possibility. But what are your thoughts on when you would like the board to make this decision so we can do all the planning that has to happen afterwards?
Absolutely. Well, a lot of things are on hold until we make a decision. March 1st is simply the drop dead date. That's when we must let SELPA know of our decision. We can do it sooner, and we'd recommend doing it sooner because then we can continue to plan knowing either we are or not moving forward. So our subsequent plans are going to be based on the decision that's made. Yes.
Okay, then thank you very much. We're gonna. No, we're gonna move on. We got a few more agenda items to do, and we've had the report, and we have ways to resource more information going forward. So, again, thanks a lot,
you.
everybody, and look forward to discussing this again. Okay, so our next item is discussion action. It's the new NUSD website, and Leslie Benjamin, our public information officer, and Sean Rozella are going to be reporting that.
Thank you, President Nell. In the interest of time, we'll try to do this a little bit more quickly than we had originally planned, so thank you very much. We started looking at the idea of a new website last fall. As you know, websites are really important nowadays. We have, children coming in with parents who are much younger and much more tech savvy, and The internet is an important place where we all go for information. I mean, how many of us Google a question or something and want the answer? And we want our websites we want the district and the school websites to reflect the progressive and forward thinking that our schools and districts are doing. Jeff Arnold and Todd Walker from Entropic Studio. You may recognize Jeff. Yeah, come on up. From the student panel. Yes, the student panel that Jim did at the August opening. And so we're currently in the third year of a 3-year contract with our current website provider. And this is, if we're going to do anything, like now is the time to do it. I have talked to them about making some changes to our website, but it's proprietary and it's very limited in its changes. What we're proposing is to go to WordPress. Thank you very much. I have it written right now and I went out of it, but it's an open source platform and very accessible, meaning we're not limited to one company, and we can go anywhere and hire anyone to come and help work on it. And so Jeff and Todd have brought that to us. I do want to add that Sean and I also met with PTA presidents and principals to get their feedback on what they'd like to see in a new website. And some of the things are a better calendar, better menus, something more intuitive with easy navigation, mobile device optimization, meaning that we can look at it on our smartphones and tablets very easy, so it changes formats, and then it's searchable. So with that, can you guys show them some of the stuff that you've done? And then,
Hi, I'm Todd Walker. Thank you for having us this evening.
Do you want me to pull
Yeah,
this
go
up?
ahead. Basically, we're a team in San Rafael. As you know, you have some graduates of the Novato Unified School District standing right next to me. We also have people on our staff that have smaller children that are in the Novato Unified School District as well. So coming from our standpoint, really what our job would be to work with you guys, to listen to the faculty, to listen to the teachers, and to give you guys exactly what you need. We've been doing this for about 16 or 17 years, so we're bringing a level of professionalism. I have no doubt about the technologies that we would be recommending to you. It is an open source platform. You guys could literally close your eyes and throw a stone and find someone that would be able to work on WordPress. So our goal is to give you something and then actually teach you guys how to feed yourself. So we want you to be self-sustainable. Not only do we offer building websites, but we support and train all of our clients in doing it themselves. So we have the resources, we have training videos, we would sit and work with the faculty and staff. That's really one of our goals, is to give you guys a tool that makes you self-sufficient. The teachers would be able to work with the parents. We would have the ability to control websites, which we don't, I heard, have a lot of now. So with that understanding, we want to give something that the teachers would be excited to put up, excited to share with the parents, all the events and things that are going on within the school district. We've been working recently, finished projects with the San Francisco Theological Seminary, the beautiful castle on the hill in San Anselmo. We work with the design, we work with the development. We have amazing designers, amazing developers. We do UI, UX, that's the user experience and the user interface. So we specialize in how people would read the site, what sort of information is important. Does it go above the fold, meaning do you have to scroll to it or not scroll to it? It would have a lot of functionalities. You guys could work on everything from search engine optimization so that other parents could find you, to robust calendars, to news items where parents could see what events are going on. They could come and listen to speakers speak. They could go see their kids in a play. Parents could share photos. It could be integrated with socials, and it would all be under the control of this gentleman over here, so that you guys would actually have control over the site. Our goal would be to really create a template for the Novato Unified School District. Once that was set in place and we built that, then we would start working with the other schools. Obviously, the high schools would require a little bit more interaction with us, a little bit more feedback. They have a lot more programs from sports and theater and drama and stuff like that than the younger schools. Those would be a lot easier. We would create templates, and then each school would have its own unique look and feel, and we could cater it to them on whatever they wanted to market. Do you guys have any questions about the technology or anything like that we could help answer?
Okay, question time. Maria and then Trustee Butler.
You mentioned social media, and you mentioned other high schools being involved. So this is kind of like a safety question.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if, under your supervision, of course, would you be making sure filtering information such as suicide and bombs and pornography and whatever needs to be?
All of
is
our
that-
all of our policies and protocols would remain the same.
Okay,
So
great.
that
Thanks.
wouldn't change.
Great.
Trustee Butler.
Have you done any other school districts? Just curious. Have you?
No, we've worked with higher education institutions, but not other school districts. What we would be implementing would be, well, actually, we've worked on individual schools, but not on a school district as a whole.
Okay.
Anybody else? Questions? All right, Trustee Cooper.
How long does this actually take to transition over all of our schools, the elementary, the middle, and the high schools?
Well, they have a drop dead line of going live on July 1st.
Okay.
So I think we have to get everything to you by the end of April or the beginning of April.
I believe the last we said was end of March, the beginning of April.
Yeah, beginning of April. So it'd be on a quick timeline. I've been through two website changes with the district already. And so I know I am somewhat well-versed, and I feel like we're ahead of the curve here, kind of getting started with this now. So I'm very confident they can get it done.
And you guys are going to work with each site to bring up their school site websites?
Which is different than what we've done in the past, and
Yeah,
but we want to have a consistent look. But we
Agreed.
want to have each of the school sites, have some contribution into letting them know what what we want to have.
Good, and the last question is just Aries. So, reading your report, it doesn't sound like parents were utilizing that feature of our current website.
They weren't.
So
Well,
it's not-
it
it
was
doesn't.
a combination of things that, because they had to have a login, and at the same time, to really optimize that, teachers would have to have websites within Sharp School. And as you know, Sharp School's a little difficult, and so teachers went to ones that they knew that they could do, which is Weebly and Edmodo, so.
All right, Trustee Mack had a question.
Yeah, sorry. The initial build obviously is going to be pretty centralized and work with individual folks. But my question really relates to ongoing content. How's that going to be administered? How are we going to? Maybe that's more of a Sean question. I don't know. But I know we've had issues in the past with it being overly decentralized and trying to rein it back in, but then don't want to go too much.
Well, that is the $100 million question.
Yeah.
So, okay, it isn't $100 million, but it's the, whatever question it is. But Alex, who's new in IT, is experienced with WordPress. So at least we have somebody here that can help us with that. But that is something that we need to look at as a district going forward. How do we want to address that? Because right now, we have parents that are updating our websites, and I don't know if that's the best way that we want to address
Or not
this.
updating the website.
Or not updating. And I think what we really want, really to be effective is have a great website, and also to have it updated timely. So.
Well, and I
think from my staff's perspective, this is.
Up here.
From my staff's perspective, this is a step towards getting that control back.
Right.
Because right now it is completely decentralized, and updates, as you pointed out, often aren't happening, or like things are happening that we're not aware of what's going on. So we would like to get a little bit more control, and this is kind of a first step towards doing that. And engaging the sites in what we're going to be building is going to be part of that.
And one more question.
Okay.
Sorry. And right now, the way the design works, and I think we're going to mirror this, is that all the campuses are siloed, and they have their own individual thing. Maybe from design perspective, just if you guys can talk to the drawbacks and benefits of that, because I see certainly there's benefits, but there might be some drawbacks too, and not having a global view of all our campuses at once.
Yeah, and absolutely, that's part of what we're talking about. I mean, everything, the decentralization at this point is to the point, even like the domain namespace, like there's no common domain nomenclature. So, like, San Marin is something like Go Mustangs or something like that, right? Where, the other schools are Novato High School or whatever. So, like, if you're a parent, it's not intuitive finding what the site is going to be, and through website optimization we can make that easier to find. But even just starting with as simply as domain name registration, getting that all into one silo, and then having links through the main website to the individual schools. So you actually, I'd like to get it to where you start with the district and then you drill down to find your school. That's ideally what I'd like to see.
Right. Okay.
Okay, so one more.
Once you guys answer Trustee Mack's $1 million question, will we have some kind of rules or guides or policy or something that would come back to us for approval, something in writing so that it can be consistent throughout the district? And that will come back to us for approval?
Well, I believe we do have a website policy right now, and Sean and I have been looking at that and updating it, so at some point in time, we would be bringing something back.
So it's going to change just a little bit, right?
Well,
in terms of our policies, I don't think we're really out of compliance with state recommendations. So
right.
But it's more, I guess not enforcement, but actually like the administration since it's decentralized, and in some cases it's not even district employees that are doing the site administration. Like we've lost a certain level of control, and we want to get that back.
Right. And I wasn't saying that we were not. I know we have our policy and all that, but I'm wondering, after you guys cross the T's and dot the I's, I'm sure there'll be a couple changes that would be updated to.
Probably.
And then would it come back to us for approval?
So, just trying to move along, and got a few more items to cover. So, essentially, what I'm hearing some support here. I'm not hearing anything condemning or anything. So, but I am hearing a theme about, well, this is the first step, and we would like to probably have this be a building block going forward, so that we can not only develop policy and administrative rules and regulations, but actually some, serious rule, limits. I'm not sure what the lingo is, but like, the number of characters you can have in a field, and what that field can say and can't say, and sort of start to lock those things down, which I know you guys probably have the language, and you know it needs to happen. So I'm prepared to ask for a motion to accept this. I certainly support it. I think it's something that's long overdue. I think we've got the right team here, and it can only get better. So
I motion.
Okay, so I have a first from Trustee Aguila, and with a second from Trustee Mack. So at this point, with the first and the second, last chance for comments.
Just a clarification question,
Okay.
if I may. Where does this sit with the branding? And I know we were talking about logos, and is there any kind of branding that's going to be concurrent with this? We're going to do that later? Don't know? Not set yet?
Jim and I have talked about it, so.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, we are, as you all know, in the process of looking at the district advisory committee and the 21st century skills and the graduate profile and how that's going to drive everything we're doing in the district. And initially, we had done some contract work with the Napa group around that, and then now we're kind of bringing that back. So I think it's going to be a while longer before, but I do think we need to look at the district logo. It's been, I don't know, Ross isn't here, but I mean, whoever was here before time, to tell, you know, we needed probably new district logo, maybe we need some new slogans and all that kind of stuff, but I think we're a little ahead about that. But I think that this group is adaptable enough and flexible and nimble enough to help us with that. And, you know, there's a whole bunch of different ways of doing that. So we definitely want to do the branding, and it's probably something maybe at about this time next year, I think we'll be in a better position to come up with some graphics and some logos and some icons and branding that will maybe bring everything that we're doing together once we have a better coherent sense of what that is.
Okay, so I'm going to call for a vote based on our first and second to accept the recommendation and to move ahead. All those in favor? That's 6-4 and 0 against, so.
Thank you. We're
Thank
very
you,
excited about this
congratulations,
project.
and we are too.
Yeah,
Believe it or
we
not,
are.
we are too. All right, thank you very much. Okay, next is response to Assembly Bill AB 104, and Ruth Ann Bexton will be reporting on that as well.
It's great to see a former student and friend of my daughter's actually coming to work to do design work for us. I'm thrilled. So I am here to bring forth information on the new Assembly Bill, AB 104, Chapter 13, 2015, in which the state actually is giving school districts the opportunity to consider changing the age at which children can be enrolled in a transitional kindergarten. And I think that you all know that at this point in time, transitional kindergartners are children whose birthdays fall between September 2nd and December 2nd. And the bill actually would allows school districts to make the decision to enroll students who are 4 years old after the December 2nd date, but within the school year. It would definitely allows districts to expand their transitional kindergarten program. The bill really reads as such that you as a school board have the opportunity to make that decision. And there are certain conditions connected to the bill. First of all, it needs to be determined that it's in the best interest of the child, or I would say children, that the parent or guardians of all of the children that would be enrolled are really made aware of all of the advantages and disadvantages of doing that, and any information pertaining to the class and the experience would be offered. They also were very clear, unfortunately, that at this point in time, I'm saying at this point in time, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, that the children that would be enrolled at 4 years old after that December 2nd date would not generate average daily attendance or be included in the enrollment or unduplicated pupil account until their 5th birthday. I think actually more importantly, it's very clear that transitional kindergarten means that it's the first of 2 years of a kindergarten program. And I will say that it definitely needs to be a modified kindergarten curriculum, because a 4-year-old is developmentally very different than a 5-year-old. And as we visit even our present TK classes, and I actually had a parent talk to me about that just yesterday, the fact that it's a parent of a 4-year-old, and he had visited some transitional kindergarten classes and was astounded at how young those children looked, and his child, under the new law, would qualify, and he's a delightful little boy. I've met him, and capable in so many ways, but developmentally younger than the transitional kindergarten children are in our classes right now. The intent of the legislature really is that the curriculum needs to be aligned to the California Preschool Learning Foundations. And I've done a lot of work with that, actually. I mean, I think at this point you all know that I've done a lot of work with the foundation, and we are working very hard at aligning preschool and kindergarten and on up, and even have preschool on a couple of our campuses now. The preschool learning foundations are indeed quite different from kindergarten curriculum. And the other thing, certainly, that's critical is they want to see that these teachers are credentialed properly. And they are allowing a period of time for districts to do that. Teachers who would be teaching these classes in the future really need to have 24 units of early childhood education or childhood development. They should have really a teaching permit from the Commission on Credentialing for child development, or the district can actually, I'm going to use the phrase grandfather folks in if they've had some experience, but then a district needs to decide what that would be. I really want to say at this point that I think that you all know that I have been a proponent of universal preschool. And I certainly am hoping that we add preschool classes to our schools. I'm bringing this forward to you, however, to consider some real concerns in making your decision. And I am recommending from staff that at this point in time, we keep the enrollment age within 4-year-olds between September 2nd and December 2nd. My major concern is that we really don't have additional staffing, and I will tell you, last year we actually put effort in at schools to grandfather in some folks because we knew this was potentially going to happen. And so we already have some teachers, and they are teaching our present transitional kindergarten students who have been grandfathered in, who do not have, the formal early childhood, either the child development permit or the 24 units of early childhood education. We also gave teachers the opportunity, at specific school sites, teachers were asked about doing that. I'm not sure at this point that we have teachers that would be interested in going back to school and getting those additional credits, even with the time allowed. So I feel that we do have issues at this point of having enough staffing that are qualified for the different developmental needs of the children. And I will tell you that doing the pre-K work over the last several years, and the K work and as principal at Hamilton, working very closely with our preschools, there is quite a difference in expectations and experience, and I know that even Derek heard some things about changes in practice, and changes in practice that at this point in time we're attempting to bring into all of our classrooms in the schools involved with MCF, but particularly even our TK and K classrooms around interactions. The other thing, which is, and some folks might be upset, but which is lesser to me, is the lack of funding for it. but I do think that it's certainly an issue. And I think that there is potential for light at the end of the tunnel, but it's not there now. Because as Karen talks about the state studying funding around preschool and TK, I do think the state is going to be really examining and looking at how to do that. And that in the future, actually, there could be more funding to support this for districts, and even making it available to districts to more easily perhaps pay or support teachers through some additional schooling or training. But at this point in time, I really am, the superintendent and staff are recommending that the board continues the present practice of enrolling students in transitional kindergarten to those who have their fifth birthday between September 2nd and December 2nd.
All right, there you have it. Based on that change in the law, we have a recommendation. So do we have questions that we would like clarified? Any, if not questions, then comments? I have a comment, but I'll wait for
I'll make a comment.
Trustee Butler.
This one was hard for me.
I know.
This is tough.
I mean, we didn't talk, but I know.
Because we constantly get reports here to the board about how important it is to capture that student as early as possible. And this would be one of those ways where we could get the student in our district as early as possible. And to turn these particular, a handful of students that we possibly could turn away is concerning to me. We also talk about creating more opportunity for the student, and it could possibly reduce remedial services later on down the line. We do have some declining enrollment at our kindergarten. It could help a little bit in that way by capturing these students early on. So I'm thinking of all these things, but I also understand where you're coming from as well. But I'm still struggling with accepting staff's recommendation. So I would really like to see us maybe see our teachers get the credentialing that they do need at some point, if we can have that available to them or find a way. Maybe have a coach, an early engagement coach of some sort, one of our instructional coaches for strictly TK.
Interesting.
For the younger population and for the younger classes, if we could help, or a lead TK teacher to oversee some of that. So I would like to see us work towards it at some point. But to just, and the funding, I don't really care, because we're here approving contracts for other things right and left. But the funding, like you said, is not a huge priority, for me at least.
And then on-campus preschool, just at Linwood?
No, Hamilton. And Lou Sutton has a little learners program.
Okay.
And, we don't know what will happen certainly with the grants that have been proposed. But the grant proposals were written for 4 schools, and it is, 4 schools. Not Linwood, because they already have 2 preschools on site, but rather Olive, Hamilton, Lou Sutton, and Loma Verde.
And for those schools that we already have on-campus preschool, are we effectively already doing this? Effectively, we have those. We've captured those kids now on our camp. Captured, but we have them, and we're working.
We
with
have
them.
enrolled them,
Yes,
and
yes,
we're
yes.
Lou Sutton's Little Learner program is absolutely delightful. It's not what you would consider preschool or TK program. It's a fabulous program. I would like, to see them have a class there. It's 2 days a week, and it's including family, so there's family engagement. But it's not as formalized. It's, just not thoroughly planned, and it's not a full-time program, which the others are. They're not a state considered full-time program, because the ones that we wrote proposals for actually are from like 8 or 7:30 in the morning till 6 at night, and they're also during the summer, so many days a year. However, it's really serving a need at this point. Hamilton has a Head Start class on site and partners with others classes, but not, there's more of a need. It's a large neighborhood, large group, but it's a Head Start class that's partnered. Linwood has a Head Start class that's partnered with the school, and also a class that was started with MCF money. The teacher for that class is indeed credentialed to teach preschool and is supervised by Head Start. On Hamilton site, it's also a credentialed teacher supervised by Head Start. It's just that the need is greater, and I honor what Debbie says. I understand.
It would help to have some numbers, and I'm not sure if you have them or not, in terms of like potentially number of kids, potentially number of teachers we'd need.
There's absolutely no way to have that at this point in time. And, that's one of those things, we could certainly, what could we do? We could survey the parent communities that exist now, but that has nothing to do with any that are out in the neighborhood. There can be a certain amount of outreach into the neighborhood. I do know with all the pre-K work that I did, my 5 years at Hamilton, well, I guess I only worked on it 4 years. We went to churches and everything to find interest and to support groups, and it's pretty hard to get a count, I can tell you. Short term, it's just not possible. And I felt as though the board was anxious to have this presented in some form.
And one last question. How many do we currently have in TK right now across the district?
I'd have to look at that. I can look at it and give you the information in the Friday update.
Okay.
Trustee Cooper.
Greg, were you done?
Yeah, thank you. Sorry.
I'm willing to take your recommendation. I'm happy to do that. I would like to, at some point, revisit this, depending on whenever, I don't know, maybe there'll be some state funding that changes the dynamic. Could be a lot of things, but I think let's plan on revisiting this. That would be my choice. But I know you well enough. I think I respect your choices, and I think you serve these children in our district well, and I'm willing to take that. But I would like to come back at some point.
Well, and I have said, I think twice tonight at this time, I have very strong feelings also. Debbie and I hold some common desires to make sure that we're serving these children. I don't think we're prepared to do it now.
So how about we do this? We have to take an action on this particular agenda item, but why don't we pass along a little direction as far as I'm speaking for myself, but I am hearing generally that this is the kind of thing that we would like to pursue and envision expanding our TK universe. It's a big, the governor's proposal around childcare is enormous, and there's a lot there. It's a complicated set of circumstances all the way around. I think everyone wants to get there. I think you mentioned light at the end of the tunnel. I think it's the research is there, but so why don't we just take, I'm going to recommend that we not change the age. We stay where we are, but we give direction to staff to continue to look at this, possibly come up with some budget numbers, and to certainly, once the final governor's budget is accepted, we could maybe look at it again in May. So how does that sound?
Did you say in May?
In May, that's the governor's revise. I think by then we'll have an idea of where the state is going, and then we would say, well, how does that affect Novato Unified? But that's something we can talk about in agenda planning, but I definitely think the board would like to pursue this going forward. So with that said, can I call for a motion on the recommendation? Oh, sure, Superintendent.
I think we'll definitely, obviously, we all have reasons, like you said, to kind of revisit this and get as many kids into the system and capture them as soon as possible. I don't know that the May idea is feasible, because if the board's gonna approve this, we have to put plans in place now and make arrangements for it and try to get staffing and all that. So I guess my suggestion would be what I thought, what an earlier one is, revisit this maybe in the fall for next year. But I think I don't think we would have the capacity to come back in May to make a decision quickly and then signing kids up and finding staffing, which I think is what Ruth Ann is telling you. It's a kind of a capacity issue, both from finding teachers and knowing what we even need to do. So I just am not sure that May would make sense. I'm happy to revisit it. I think May would be too soon, personally.
So we'll let us know when you think the appropriate time to bring it back. Does that sound okay? And
I agree that May is too soon, but I will tell you that personally, I will commit to trying to get some more information on numbers. I don't know how to do that. Karen and I can certainly talk about budget. And, oh, Chris left. Oh, no, he's back there. I think that Chris and I also, he can't sit any longer, need to talk about perhaps other HR, I don't want to say issues, but things that will come up around more hiring, if it's hiring of folks just specifically with that credential, and what, if anything, may need to happen in regard to contract and several other things. But, so I guess I'm also saying, I think there are other factors, and those other factors will take some time, really, to develop. You agree, Chris, also? Yeah.
Okay. So at this time, I think we've heard back on how we're going to pursue it in the future. So I just would like to call for the vote and move to the next agenda item. So
You have a motion?
I need a motion and I need a second.
So what's our motion?
The recommendation from staff and the superintendent to keep the age or at the way that it is, and there's the date is the 5th birthday after September 2nd and before December 2nd is the actual terms of the recommendation. So
You want to make any recommendation when to come back?
I think that at this point, staff's been given direction. They're going to get back to us with some further information on what can be done in the future. So do I have a motion in regards to this recommendation from anyone?
I just have a comment.
I
Discussion.
just want to make sure, so we're not ready to move ahead. There's no
More information.
more information. All right, so would you like to get that information tonight?
I think the information we're talking about isn't something he can get tonight.
Right. I'm thinking maybe the next meeting when.
All right.
By not taking a vote, it remains the same as it is.
And, all right.
And we come back later with further discussion, and no action is taken.
More information, right.
So we can take no action, as there is no motion to do so.
And then the status stays the same.
Yeah. So that's exactly what will happen.
Yes, boss.
Learn something new every night.
Okay.
Could do that route. I was still gonna vote no, so.
Well, it was not even going to be a vote. I don't have a motion to accept the recommendation, nor do I have a motion to reject it. So all I have is direction to staff.
And practice stays as it is.
Yes,
Yeah, you agree?
I do. So I will then give the staff an opportunity if to comment one more time, and I'm sure we will hear from you soon as to when and how to readdress this. But I'm hearing the board needs more information before they can decide to make the change. So with that, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
And we'll move on to our next agenda item, which is to accept the 2014-15 annual audit report. And Karen Maloney is here to present.
So just a follow-up on that regarding the budget. I really do believe that the governor, in his initiative around early childhood, and because he's including TK in that, I think it is a step to look at all that Ruth Ann said about the age difference and separating those younger kids out of the TK pre and kindergarten. So I think you will see a lot of information that will support the recommendation of staff to keep status quo as we see this movement happen under this initiative with funding tied to it. So I just think there'll be a lot of good information that supports behavior and for young children. So with that, I'll move on to the agenda item regarding the audit. And so I'm always surprised every time the audit's reported that this is for the year ended June 30, 2015. We begin the budget development for this year that you're now approving the audit for actually 2 years ago. So the cycle is a long cycle. We began developing the budget back in January of 2013. And then it's completed in June of 2015, and then the report is actually approved by the board 6 months afterwards. So some people look at the audit and say, what is the purpose? There's a couple things. It is an outside agency, certified public accountants that come in and do tremendous work around it to see that our internal controls are in place, that our financial information is reported appropriately, and that we follow the different government regulations out there on how we report the financial information and compliance around programs. So one of the most important pages is page 1. That's the opinion. And so the opinion says, it's written in funny accountant language, but it really says that the information presented and audited and reviewed is true and correct within the parameters that they do that. So that's a very important statement that's made, and it's certified. And so I always like to say that, you know, when we look at these reports, that's very important, so that we did get a clean opinion. The other thing that's new this year under the financial reporting is another GASB was approved. And so it's GASB 68, and that's on page 14 where it's under the notes. And what it did is said that now government agencies have to report their share of any pension obligations. So for school districts, that stirs and purrs. And it's interesting because really, if a STRS failed, that we would not have to go to our ending fund balance and pay our portion of it, yet the reporting is required, which then changes how our debt is reported. And so it is a way that when GASB, which is Government Accounting Standards, says we want, when people review financial statements, to have comparable financial statements. So they want a city, a school district, a county office, a county government to look the same. The reason audit reports are important for us in all school districts is when we go out for bonds, that this is the one area that investors look at, and also the rating agencies. And so having a clean opinion, having things reported correctly, having information such as our share of pension plans that they can then compare to other like entities, provides investors with information so that they can invest in our general obligation bonds. And so we have always had very clean audits, both in the financial information as reported, saying that we have strong internal controls. And then when we get to the very end, says, if there are any weaknesses or any findings, what are they? And so when you look at the very back of the report, and actually starting on page 93, I believe it is, that for this current year, we have one finding, and which is very something that we should all take pride in that looking at the size and depth and number of people in our school districts that are following these rules around compliance, that we only have one, and it's in around student body funds. And that's a very difficult area. You have volunteers, you have many people looking at this, but still for a district our size, to have one finding and it to only be in the student body account is something that we should all take great pride in. And certainly the business office, and if Nancy was here, our director of fiscal service, takes great pride and ownership in this, but it really is everybody through integrity, through systems, through checks and balances, that we are managing our assets in a very fiscally appropriate way, and this report then validates that. So with that, I'll certainly answer any questions. I am reporting on behalf of our independent auditors, and certainly if there was questions that you had that you wanted them to respond to, we could have them come here and present report or answer those questions. But I am giving the report from staff perspective, so.
Okay, questions about the audit report and its findings, comments, statements? Well, I have one.
Oh, no.
What is it about the associated student body accounts? Because I've been doing, this is my 10th year, and this is the
Always.
9th finding that these accounts aren't maintained.
It really is, and you being a parent of children and a volunteer as a parent, that even though we send our staff to trainings, that the principals, the assistant principals work with staff, that it also is an area that is difficult to control. And so, but where we look at this, that if you look at the finding, that it says at the San Jose Middle School, or at all the middle schools, that lack of supporting document to verify cash receipts for 2 events. So when you look at the number of events that occur, that really is very low. It's not a material weakness. And so being a prior auditor, I can speak to this, that it really is an area that is difficult to audit. There is oftentimes not as high level as accounting around it because volunteers are doing it. But for our district and the number of events that happen, to say that to cash receipts for 2 events, I think overall we're doing an excellent job in managing our cash. And we do everything to try and store up those internal controls. It just is a difficult area.
Yeah, no, I understand.
I know.
I assume it's probably the same statewide.
Oh, it is the same statewide. In fact, some audit firms will say, because it is so difficult to audit, that they won't even have an opinion around student body accounts.
Well, maybe that's a recommendation.
Well, but
we might
that
consider
would
for
be
next
their
year.
call, not ours, so.
Okay. So that was my petty question about the audit report. So anyone else?
Petty.
It was.
No, mine wasn't petty at all.
cash.
Mine was simply great job. I thought it was terrific.
Really,
Thank
we
you.
should be proud.
We all should take
Excellent point.
ownership in this. And it really is, when I go and meet with the agencies that rate, and as we go into a potential bond, this is just such a strong report that investors and rating agencies do look at, that it is something that we should be very proud of, so, all of us. So thank you very much.
Okay, well, I need,
I'd like to make a motion to accept the district's 2014 to 2015 annual audit report as presented.
thank you. Can I have a second? Second by trustee Scott. All those in favor? 6-0 and 1 absent. Thank you very much. All right, our final agenda item is board committee assignments. And on your desk, you have an addendum to the board reports that went out earlier. And I'll be presenting on this issue as it is a board area, I suppose, the best way to put it. Because you guys are just looking at these for the first time, we're going to try to take action on the 26th, but essentially, before we can assign individual trustees to committees, the board needs to approve the committees. And this year, we have some proposed district appointed committees, one to drop and others to be added. And so I just wanted to give everyone on the board a chance to open up first all the committees. They're subject to review and whether we continue or modify them. And then also to consider, give you an opportunity to ask questions and discuss the proposed changes. And then after which we can then assign and move ahead. So essentially, what I wanted to the board committee only category is primarily they're community-wide groups that we like to participate on. I think it's important. I don't think that unless anyone else here feels a need to add another community-wide group here or no longer participate with one of these groups, I think it's probably a good idea to keep these going. Trustee Aguila?
Yeah, I think we need to remove Cindy's name, obviously, and the district advisory committee, would that be added to this list?
Do you have this in front of you?
No, I have this one.
Yeah, that's it.
So
Look at the first, so you're adding district.
yeah.
Oh,
So
I
part
was
of the
looking at the old
that's
one,
right. Part of the
sorry.
report is you have the current list, which includes Cindy, because so what we're doing now is we're talking about approving these committees for 16, 17, and the changes down at the bottom of this list, if you want to go there, is one to drop the budget advisory committee because the recommendation is, and I agree with it, that most of that work is covered through our LCAP process, which trustees participate at multiple times and at different levels. We also have another factor is we approve these committees on a calendar year, but school years, as you know, begin in the beginning of the year. So we have added an equity design team, but it's not board approved. So I just want to make sure that we're going to have everybody's person add that. We've added a district advisory committee, which has started and is staffed, a facilities committee, which is started and staffed, and we have a technology advisory committee, which I'm not sure has met yet or have done anything official. They have, okay. So it's met but not reporting back to us, so it's one that we'll probably want to approve. And then there's the GATE leadership team, which is a committee that I question the need for, but I'm here to see what the rest of the board thinks. I didn't think that we needed a site leadership team participation. I see this particular committee is one between parents and staff and more of a site leadership function, and I didn't know that trustees would be appointing, that we need to appoint trustees to that type of a committee, but it's up to the group. So any more, I want to just open it up to questions and comments, and then we'll go ahead and, this is something for us to do, not staff, and then I will, based on this conversation, put together the final list of approved committees, and the assignments that you have requested. I'll try to equitably distribute our participation. So, Trustee Butler.
I'm just curious, I do need to know if staff wants a board member on these committees. I would like their opinion if are they requesting a board member be a part of those committees? Then I'm more than happy to serve on them. I mean,
All of the proposed district-appointed committees have been recommended
okay.
by staff.
Wasn't you just typing up a?
No. No.
Yeah.
But
My only comment on this is that our past practice has been many of these committees meet during the day, and those of us that have jobs, it's difficult to serve on a committee if we can't get away because our primary occupation doesn't allow for it. So I would like to see some of these be held in the evenings. If they can accommodate, and maybe every other month or something. Just want to throw that out there. That's been my.
I think it's well within the purview of the board to come up with some direction along the lines of when and how often these meetings should take place. And so I would be open to the idea that alternate the meeting times, at a minimum, try to have at least one that would accommodate parents and community members who have day jobs or makes it difficult for them to attend, I guess, regularly during the day. So I think that's a fair request, and I think the board should direct staff to try to accommodate that and see if we can't come up with some start times that work for everybody.
Okay. Two committees I would like to serve on then would be the parcel tax and facilities.
Okay, I'll make a note of that. Trustee Aguila?
I understand that there's some committees that cannot be held at night. We have to consider staff time and paying for staff time, and so I'm okay if some of the board members, they have a full-time job and do the best that they can to maybe we can alternate. And usually we do have someone that alternates. If for example, I can't go, have an alternative go in my place, or if I can go in your place, and I think that would be another option.
So that's important. I think certainly there are some meetings that can't be staffed in the evening. That'll become self-evident, and obviously we won't be able to accommodate that. So I'm gonna try to work through all those issues with the staff on the scheduling, and we'll do the best that we can. The issue of alternate, I mean, that's just, thank you for helping to explain that we are going to need primary and alternate members for the committee. So keep that in mind and sign up for more than less. So any other just questions like that? Because then I'll basically just say the way it's coming together is we're going to keep the board committees the way they are. We're going to keep the board-appointed committee, which is only one, the parcel tax oversight, which is required by law, essentially, so we'll keep that. And then when it comes to the district-appointed committees, we're going to drop the budget advisory committee, and we're going to add the list of proposed committees. Trustee Cooper.
So I'm just going to put my 2 cents worth in about the GATE leadership team. I'd like to see that remain. I see that more as a district level rather than a site leadership, and I agree if it was a site leadership issue, and there may be decisions made at the sites, but clearly I don't see this one as that. So I'd like to see that remain.
So is that
and I'd be happy to serve
I'm
on
not understanding that. I'm sorry, with site. This is.
Well,
a
it was
big-
just, this trustee is not comfortable elevating the GATE leadership team to a board district appointed. Basically saying that the board is going to appoint 2 trustees to participate on this team. That would be us, that's kind of like us saying we're going to appoint one another to each individual site leadership team. I know it's not the same, but it's, to me, I didn't think it was necessary. Yeah, well, that's, maybe we could get more of clarification as to what the intention was for the GATE leadership team and why you wanted board participation.
Yeah, so if the board doesn't want to have, and I don't think you necessarily have to have 2 representatives on all these committees either. There might be some that you just need 1 person. Certainly GATE and the way the GATE program is run has been a contentious issue in this district for a while. which is one of the reasons we formed that committee, was to involve parents with staff in terms of how we're running the GATE program and the kind of input. So I think it is appropriate for board members to participate. And some of these, maybe it's just participating as an observer, so you're there to hear what the parents have to say. I mean, it's not, obviously board members are welcome to contribute in any way they want, but a lot of it's just being there to hear what the parents have to say. So I think you're already aware that there's a significant number of dissatisfied parents with the GATE program. And that was the reason to form the leadership team, was so we could enhance the communication between parents and staff about how that thing's run. So having a board member be there, I don't think more than one's necessarily, needed to kind of listen to what are the parents saying and is staff responding to that. I mean, that was just my thought. So either way is fine, but it is an issue that our parents are concerned about. And I think our board would want to hear what those concerns are and make sure that we as staff are responding to that properly.
I would support that. I'm in
And
agreement with that.
And that would be an evening meeting.
Well,
Yeah. Correct.
that part
Yeah.
the
You can-
scheduling, I think
because-
we're gonna have to defer to, for me to work out with staff, and then we'll bring it back to you guys at that point, but we have to actually have these dates established, and that's not part of the current report yet. There is a draft of dates, but
But
there's a
you
lot of
talked
issues
about
with it.
parents, and so usually when I think of that, I think of evening
Okay.
and meeting, but
No,
I'm
that's
not
fine.
sure, that was a question. Yeah. Okay.
So they're already in, all right, so we'll keep those at night. So one of the things that I also wanted to talk about on the district-appointed committees, which the definition is that the district-appointed committees either are required by state or federal guidelines and/or are deemed necessary for district operations. So these are, like we're doing tonight, all of these committees are subject to review on an annual basis. So anything that we put into motion this year certainly can be removed or added or changed in the future. So we're looking at a 1-year period for these committees. The last thing I just want to get out, Maria, before I recognize you, is the Health Benefits Committee. And there isn't a recommendation from staff to either add or drop it, but to my knowledge, it didn't meet last year, and
It had to
I
have
think
met.
they did, because Cindy reported out on it, didn't she?
well, okay, then I take that back. Then I may have had that confused. So if it's functioning, then it's functioning. So we will continue to have a health benefits. It's not functioning in the half year that we've basically had so far. Okay. So I was wondering if that might be a meeting that we would put together later, or do you guys want to continue it as an ongoing meeting? I'm looking for efficiency. I like,
Not
less is
assign-
more, you know?
Just don't assign a trustee to it if it's not happening.
Okay, so maybe when we decide to activate it, it would be.
We're already halfway
That's a
through
good-
the school
That's a good
year.
suggestion. That's an excellent suggestion. So we'll keep it as an official committee, and we will talk about appointing some to it should the need arise. I think it's well within our power to do that, working with each other. Okay, so I will. Any more? You had a question, Maria?
Where would ELAC fall? Would that ELAC, not DLAC?
Well, that's site specific.
That would be site.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't.
attend
no.
those.
Okay. All right.
I guess under DLAC.
But we could if we wanted to.
You could.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so then essentially what we have here, I just want to make sure the dropping of the Budget Advisory Committee, we got the nods on that one? Okay, so we will go ahead with what you see on this draft proposal, and I will get out assignments based on some of you who have commented. Anyone who hasn't called me or emailed me, please do so, or if you want to change your mind based after this conversation. And we will try to get I'm sorry.
Can we tell you now?
Yeah, well, tell me after the meeting, I'll make a note. There's no reason to keep everybody here. So that is, I guess, a board report of some kind. So thank you all very much. And if I understand this agenda correctly, we are done. So, thank you very.
We didn't take action, we just did a discussion.
Discussion, correct. Just a discussion. All right, thank you all for coming. Our next board meeting is a workshop on January 23rd, followed by a solar meeting on the 26th. So, good night.